And now, the female perspective with your hosts, Barbie Bonder, Kathy Whitmire, and Arlene Fallon.
Hi, welcome to the Female Perspective. This is Barbie Bonder, LCSW.
Hi, I'm Kathy Whitmire, LMHC.
And hello, I'm Arlene Fallon, a psychotherapist.
And today we are discussing divorce.
Okay.
So, we're going to get a little bit into divorce. We're going to get into why it is that people get divorced. We're going to get into how to overcome divorce, how to talk to children about divorce.
How to plan a divorce party.
So we're going to
sounds like
cover, yeah, right? So we're going to
So
cover.
it's not all doom and gloom.
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no.
No. Depending, but for the most part, you know, if it's not working out and it's time to move on.
But then how do you know? How do you accept the fact that it's not working out?
So that's one of the things. Yeah, that's one of the things that we're gonna cover as well. So, anything we want to say before we get into like the nitty gritty?
Anybody have any experiences in divorce?
Well, not myself, but my parents are divorced.
I do.
I do. No, not me. I'm just repeating him. I don't. No,
I
I
was
don't.
like,
No, I don't have any.
Anything you'd like
He's
to share?
just going, I do. Which is ironic
I
because we're
did.
talking about divorce.
I did. I've been divorced.
I've been
Oh.
divorced as well. But like I say, things happen for a reason. I was pregnant at the time, and I miscarried on some twins, and we just never was able to come back after that.
And that's
Oh,
tough,
wow.
We
though.
was never able to come back. Now, right now, we're the best of friends right now. The best of friends right now. But we just was not able to come back.
And do you think it was the miscarriage that
Oh, definitely.
put the wedge in between you
Oh,
guys?
yes. He blamed me. I blamed him. It was just a whole bunch of just things that was unnecessarily. Things were said that, once you say things, you can't take it
Mhm.
back.
As much as you try to go,
Yeah.
suck those words back. They're out there.
But we could talk about the morals about divorce from a religious aspect. I don't know, because you're Catholic.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how do they feel about divorce?
No, it's just not allowed.
It's not yet.
No, nothing.
No, it's not. I
Well,
mean,
they don't stop it or anything
right.
like that.
But then you
once
can't if you get married again, they don't recognize it in the.
They won't recognize the second
unless you
marriage.
get unless the first marriage has to be
It has to be annulled.
annulled, right?
Yeah.
Or in the Catholic faith, you can actually get a letter from the Pope that absolves you. That's
From
what
the Pope.
that's what I had to get.
Well, but that was
A letter
because
from the Pope.
From the
Yeah.
Pope.
yeah, we
Yeah.
have
How did you
something.
even initiate that? I mean,
the church did it.
The church did it, but the issue was with him is that if both parties were Catholic, then there was some issue with there. Remember, was she Catholic? Was she not? We had to get a statement from her saying
on.
that,
we talk about the Pope.
I was
Yeah.
that's
It was
really.
Pope.
I'll
hold
bring
on,
it.
because
Yeah,
I'm really I'm
and it's
still,
in Latin and everything.
See, I'm still
Pope Benedict, I have a
struggling with the
letter.
fact that it's the Pope, because he's just
The
hanging
Pope?
out waiting to
Yeah.
write.
No, but the Pope is the one that has to basically absolve it. Like his previous marriage in the eyes of the church never happened.
So it's like it wipes out.
It
that
wipes
part.
it out completely.
Oh,
Yeah.
my! You learn something new every.
I'm
I'll
saying,
bring it. Remind me. I'll bring it.
On
I know
Radio
people.
Land, if
It's,
the people on Radio
decorated
Land don't-
pretty and stuff, and Latin and stuff. It's neat
Listen,
looking. I
if
have no
the
idea what it says.
people of Radio Land don't learn nothing, I've learned something today. I
Huh.
promise you, I did. Oh
Okay, good.
goodness!
it's really pretty.
It's a really pretty
God
letter.
only
Who
knows
knows
what's
what
in
it
it, but it's
says?
really lovely.
It is. It looks very nice. Very professional.
So
It's written
your
by the
divorce,
Pope.
your divorce was caused that there was the
The
miscarriage,
miscarriage
of twins.
Yes,
And then from that pain, you guys weren't able to recover.
we just never was able to. recover
Mine
from that.
was not like that. We basically got married to save the relationship, which we all know that that always works out. I'm the exception to the rule. I was young and immature. She was young and immature.
young as in what's
we-
young.
Mid 20s.
That's young.
Was for me. Now looking back, I think we got
We also
married
need
the
to talk
second
about
time
what's
in
a
my
good
at
age.
35.
No,
What's a good age of getting married?
you were freshly just turned 30 the year
Freshly just
before,
turned
because
30.
remember, we got married right before I turned 30, and you're a year older than I am.
Well,
So
there you
you
go.
were 31. when
So
you got
that's
married.
that's a good question.
Yeah, we're talking
is
about the
there
age.
right? Is there a right age to get married?
I think that
60.
60.
Oh, so I'm still
You're
in,
still
I'm
good.
still in
You're
that
still
range.
good.
I'm
You're
still
still-
in that
you got
range.
way-
No, I
plenty
don't know.
of time.
I don't know if y'all recently seen a post I did on Facebook. It was a guy married. They have 4 sons, and I want to say about 12 grandkids, and he's on his deathbed, and he finally popped the question to her. Did you not? see
Yes,
that?
I saw that.
see the
Yes,
post?
yes,
You
yes,
seen it?
yes, yes. I saw that.
Really?
It's like, really? He waited that long?
He waited that long.
That's ridiculous. I think that, I mean, I don't think there's any right age. I have some friends that were high school sweethearts and just celebrated, I think, their 14th wedding anniversary. And, you know, everything is going great. I think though, if you're gonna sit there and share your life with somebody, and that's not easy because two personalities and all
Mhm.
that, make sure that you are set, that you know what you want, that you've done what you've, you know, it's kind of like when having kids. If you have kids too young, then maybe you get that itch that I didn't party enough,
or
I didn't
live
do
life, or
this.
didn't right.
So, you know, you kind of have to do things for yourself, get yourself going in the right track, maybe career wise, or, you know, whatever it is. But I think that and there's no certain age that,
Right.
you know, okay, by 25, you're mature enough to be, no, because that,
And I think it's important to also, you know, discuss with the person that you're planning on marrying to make sure that you have the same idea of marriage.
Yeah.
To make sure that you are on the same track.
Sure, but also you must realize that life happens and plans change, and you've got to roll with the punches sometimes.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
But for example, do we want to have children? Do you want to have children? If not, how important is having children to me?
We could also
If we do
discuss-
have children, how do you want to raise them religion wise? What is important to you? Is that something that is a make or break deal, or is that something that we can agree to compromise on? You know, that kind of
I've
stuff.
never met anybody who's gotten divorced over a big issue like that. It's always he puts the toilet paper on wrong.
Oh,
No,
come on,
no, come on,
no.
What?
That may be-
that might be what puts me over the edge after 5 years of dealing with your BS, and you just
Right.
one day put the toilet paper on wrong, and that just kind of
That's it.
that's it, we're done. But in reality,
yeah, that's not what caused
it's
it.
maybe underlying, you know, some of the major issues in marriages is financial issues. You know, other issues are communication
Communication.
issues. So, you know, are we on the same wavelength as far as what marriage is? Or, you know, like I was talking to my friends the other day, people now, divorce is kind of like, okay, well, we'll get married. Oh, well, you know, it's
Oh,
not
it's so
working
easy.
out.
You
Oh,
can
we'll
just do it
get
online if
Yeah, you
there's
can now just
no-
get divorced online. Now it's just kind of like
There's
a whole
no
different
arguing
thing.
over
There's,
you know, properties and stuff like that, and it's nice, easy break. You can do it online, pay $50, and you're done.
exactly.
So now that getting married, getting unmarried, gay marriage,
Mhm.
all this has come in. Has it muddied the waters as to what marriage, the traditional marriage, what everyone always thought of marriage until what, maybe 3 years ago, what marriage was, because of all this?
That whole definition have to be defined now of what is a marriage.
Personally, I don't think it has. I don't think that the fact that a gay couple can get married has any kind of effect on a
What marriage
heterosexual
is.
couple getting married, or on marriage, or what marriage is. Marriage is the same definition for everyone, regardless of who it is that's getting married.
But when you defined it, it was a union between a man
Yeah, everything
and a
you
woman.
just said is
Mhm.
3 years old.
Right. That was saying now it's a new definition.
No,
of
I don't
everything.
define marriage that way. Marriage to me
You
is
do now.
No,
you were,
always.
When you were a child, you never thought two guys, two girls getting married.
I didn't, but when I was a child, I also thought that the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus existed. So we
So-
grow up and we
So
learn.
marriage is a figment of our imaginations now.
No, but marriage to me is simply a bond that you make with someone that you love with.
It is now. It wasn't 5 years ago.
Correct. But what I'm saying, which you are fighting me on, and we'll be here all day and I'll win, is that
You were saying?
Oh, don't turn off my mic. That's why you can't get into an argument with your producer, because he just turns off your mic. Dang it.
Oh,
I-
that was low. That was 10 points for the producer.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway,
love you. I love you,
You were
brother.
saying. You were saying.
I don't even know what.
We were
No,
talking.
but,
We were talking.
but the
has,
definition,
has,
the definition of marriage.
has what marriage is been muddied? Has the waters been muddied by divorce? Easy divorce, no fault divorce. People getting married from everything from, you know, to try to get a green card, or the
A
celebrity
business
marriages.
relationship.
Oh, yeah.
where it's, you know,
yeah,
has that muddied the
citizenship.
waters from what marriage
Was
had
originally
always
was.
been
Sanctity of marriage.
throughout time until 3 to 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I
it
mean, I
depends
have to
how you-
agree. I have to agree with our wonderful producer. Don't turn off my mic, please.
Yeah, of course not.
I guess it depends on how you look at it. Just like some people are not really into marriage in the sense of like legally getting married, but it's just, you know,
Okay, and about
Goldie
those
Hawn and
people,
stuff.
I cannot stand people who, especially men,
Why are you looking at me? I do not
oh, he's
represent
gonna turn
all
off your
men.
mic.
Yeah, he's
No.
gonna.
especially men that be like, marriage is nothing but a piece of paper.
Right.
It's just why you want to mess up what we have for a piece of paper? That's just telling me you're not ready to commit.
Yeah, because that piece of paper makes it legal, makes
Thank
it
you.
binding,
in the
Official.
eyes
makes
of
it
everything.
official.
Just like
Now, I also have-
making a post on Facebook, tagging me on Facebook, saying that I'm in a relationship makes it official.
We got that. Why do you need to? What do we need to do?
we're Facebook married. No, I have friends also that have been together for, God, I want to say 15 years, and they're not married. I mean,
look
I
at
don't-
Goldie
Oh,
Hawn.
man.
yeah, I mean, at this, I don't think there's no more common law here in Florida. I don't know if they maybe were grandfathered in, because I remember it used to be you have to be
15
someone.
years.
They've been together 15 years.
15 years,
Yeah,
and
one
they're
five.
not married.
No, they're not
Any
married.
kids?
No, he's got a child from a previous relationship, but no, I guess they never wanted children, and
Well, to each their
And
own.
they're happy and they
mutually-
travel?
Was it mutually that?
yeah,
So she's not calling you on late night, be like, "Oh, I wish he hurry up and pop the question
No,
type."
no,
Nothing? She's
no, they're
seriously
happy.
okay
They
with it.
travel, they do all that they want to do.
Okay,
and
is it because they want to file separately for their taxes?
I don't I
see,
don't
different
know.
strokes for
I'm
different
not gonna
folks.
be. I'm not having her break it down to me like a fraction, but whatever their reason, they're happy, and they don't have that piece of paper that says, now we're stuck with one another.
Well, to each, to
I
each
love the
their
way you
own. I
use
mean,
it, being stuck with somebody. I don't want when I get married again, hopefully soon, within the next year or two,
Okay.
month, whatever. I don't want him to refer to me as being stuck to somebody.
Stuck to somebody.
I want him to be. We're on a journey of love.
Ah,
You like the way I put that?
I do. I think there should be some
A
music
journey of
behind
love.
that.
Do you want to accompany me in this journey of love? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, what makes a good marriage? What makes a healthy marriage?
Or how long should you date, or even before you consider being married?
same.
That's
I think that's the same thing as far as what age you are when you get married. I don't really think that there is a cutoff time. I mean, I know people that have dated forever, get married, and are divorced in less than 2 years.
You have cultures where the bride and groom don't meet until the day they're getting
Right.
married.
Right.
And we're not talking about backwards third world countries here. We're talking about not America, but countries that are as big and
Right.
have everything that we've got culturally.
Mhm.
They're just a lot older than us. I'm talking about India mainly
right.
with the arranged marriages.
Mhm.
So it
But now, how accepted? Because I don't want to say frown. How accepted is divorce in those cultures? I mean, is that like
It's not,
It's not. So,
which is why pretty much
you
you're-
basically don't have a choice. This is who you're
Right,
going to
this is
marry.
who
and
you're
this is-
marrying, and
you're going
this is
from
where you're
dad's
gonna
house
be,
to
and-
your husband's house, and that's
and
it. And
you're-
you have no say.
yeah, you
so
don't have a
there's
choice.
cultural differences.
Correct.
Oh, definitely.
Religious.
Religious
Definitely.
differences, personality differences, all
Definitely.
sorts of reasons that people
And
get
you
together.
kind of have, and I think in those in those cultures and religions, you just kind of have to learn to deal with your differences
Yeah.
because you don't really have.
A choice,
choice.
or an option, right?
So what we were saying was, is there a right amount of time when you date somebody to get married?
Again, I don't think that we can
I
put a
don't- yeah.
number, but I think that there should be enough time to get to.
At least a year.
Not
Like,
really,
you-
because
well-
sometimes the chemistry could be so strong. Because I had a supervisor, and he was like my favorite supervisor of all when I first started doing therapy. He met his wife over Thanksgiving break and married her over the Christmas break,
Wow, that's
Well,
and they had them been together like
And they're
20
still
something-
together.
20-something
Really?
years at that
Huh.
time. This had to be like 10 years ago.
huh,
wow.
crazy.
Yeah,
And
because that's
he-
like a month.
That is a month.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, when we return, we'll continue to discuss what characteristics come with a good marriage, and we'll start talking about
I know a lot of
divorce.
men would probably say having 3 wives.
Hmm.
Mm.
No. Stay tuned.
One's enough.
Stay tuned. We'll be back.
You're listening to The Female Perspective with Barbie Bonda, Kathy Whitmire, and Arlene Fallon.
Hey, I'm Giancarlo Stan, and you're on 24/7 Miami.
This is Wilma Shakespeare,
Anger,
and Disaster Chief
from Miami's Vice City Rollers, inviting you to tune in to Rink Rash Radio on 247miami.tv. New shows every Saturday at 9 p.m.
with encore replays Monday at noon and 10 p.m., Tuesdays at 10 a.m.,
and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. and again at 10 p.m.
Find out everything you've ever wanted to know about roller derby in the 305,
get the 411 on the women's team,
the men's team,
and even the juniors.
Rink Rash Radio.
Rink Rash Radio
Rink Rash Radio
on 247miami.tv.
Calor y sabor aquí en 24/7 Miami.
Hello, everybody. George West here to tell you what you can expect on 247miami.tv. How about the 305 Nuts? My show, The George West Show, The Dirty Laundry, The Fantasy Frauds, Metal and Mayhem, plus the best DJs Miami has to offer. You can find it all right here on 247miami.tv, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Try to get a deal like that anywhere else. Afraid you just can't do it. Only here, 247miami.tv.
And you see one movie, it's called The Wedding Ringer.
Hey, I'm Kevin Hart.
And I'm Josh Gad.
And right now we're on 24/7
Miami. You come on out and you see Wedding Ringer.
That's it.
And now, back to the female perspective with your hosts, Barbie Bonder, Kathy Whitmire, and Arlene Thalon.
Hi, and welcome back to the Female Perspective. Today we are discussing divorce. But prior to getting into divorce, we're going over a little bit about what it is that makes a good marriage. So we discussed, technically we all pretty much agree there is no set time for time frame for how long you date somebody prior to getting married. Just like what is the right age to get married.
I think technically we know what we don't like rather than what we do like. For me, I can tell you all like my deal breakers. I know for off the back of my hand, my deal breakers that once this happened, there's no coming back.
We're done.
But things that I would think I like or would want in a marriage or in a relationship usually don't pan out as well. It's like the things that I learned I like if he shows me something I'm not used to or never been accustomed to, and I'm like, oh wow, this is interesting. Let's continue doing that. But I know for sure what I don't like. And I think that's what's getting into a good marriage is finding out the things that you don't like first, that you cannot tolerate. Because you don't want to be in a relationship with somebody just tolerating you.
Right.
You want to be in a relationship with somebody that can at least learn from you. And you going to bed with these, suicidal thoughts at night is not good for any marriage,
So technically it's fair to say that one of the important things is to be able to be friends with your partner, to have some type of underlying friendship.
Okay.
I think that's important. You have to like each other.
Okay. Now, do you be best friends with your spouse?
No. You need something outside of the
that's something,
relationship.
Yeah, that's something I've read time and time again about your spouse is your best friend and your spouse is your best friend. And it's kind of, to me, relevant, just like people say your mother is your best friend. No,
because then what happens if that relationship ends? Because relationships do end, and then what, you have no social network to bounce back with.
Yeah, Facebook.
But if your husband is your best friend, your only friend, the only one you talk to, and you guys break up,
So
who do you have?
On the other side of it, don't a lot of abusive men use exactly that to isolate their wives to keep them?
Sure.
You've got no place to go. This is it. This is your life.
Right. Yeah. But I think one of the most important things is to have some type of friendship with your partner.
Oh no, yeah, of
to
course.
definitely
You have to be able to talk
like
to them.
to like each other. I think is important. Not to
I mean, I would think you like your husband.
You'd be surprised, how much chemistry is involved in that, how much sex and other things take part and take precedence over that. But to actually like each other, be able to sit and have conversations, to just genuinely have a friendship, it really doesn't happen that often.
Okay, when you said sex, so do sex play a major role in happy marriages?
You think?
I'm asking. I don't know. I don't know.
I think it does. But what I was saying is, don't get caught up on the lust and the chemistry that you have with someone that then you ignore other areas of your relationship with this person based solely on that, because eventually that with time is going to be less and less. And what are you going to have to fall on when that isn't as prevalent as it was at the beginning? You know, my personal opinion is your partner should not be your best friend, but should be one of your really good friends. But that you still have your friends outside of the marriage that you can talk to, that you can, you know, interact with, that you spend
Right.
time with, so that your everything is not just your relationship.
Exactly. Because I don't think it should. I think they're, you know,
Yeah, like these
They
people,
need
like
to-
these people that do everything with their husbands or wives. You know,
yeah,
that
that's
that
just that they
you
have
can't
no
even,
other
like,
social circle.
right, that
and-
you can't even go out once to have, you know, lunch with girlfriends, or, you know, have a day shopping or anything like that. That everything that you do is just with your partner. That's, you know, where, to me, it kind of becomes an issue, because like you said, then your
Right.
world simply revolves around this person that you're with.
No, and then what happens when you're not with them anymore? I know a lot of people that would have boyfriends and all their friends were their boyfriend's friends.
Right.
And then when the relationship ended, they found themselves with no social circle, no social support. And, you know, you still need your,
Yeah, that's a big problem.
Your
But
friends,
aside, and
you
aside
do.
from that, also, let's face it, it's really not healthy. You know,
No.
I need to be able to have
No.
other people that I can talk to different things about, that
Mhm.
I could even, you know, if something happens in my relationship or I'm sad or something, yes, granted, I speak to my partner about it, but also have an outlet
right.
of someone that I can kind of talk to, that I can say things to, you know, in a different type of venue than just the person I'm with.
Right. Because that person's also going to be getting the we're having problem with our finances. That's who you're going to talk to about that, because they're going through it with you.
Right.
So you can't, you know, it can't all be just one person.
Mhm. So we can't agree to say that your husband or your spouse should be somebody that you can talk to about anything, but you wouldn't want to talk about everything with them, because you would have an outlet outside, which will be your best friend,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
basically. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. So one of
Wait,
the other,
so being married, do you have a best friend?
Yeah, I do. And it's not, I mean, he is. I love him. He's
It ain't me.
It ain't me. But yeah, I have several close friends that
Okay, is
That
your
I
best
could-
friend a male or female?
female.
Now, what happened when you're married? You have a best friend of the opposite sex.
Well, I have a
That
very
can cause
good.
some tension.
You think?
Yeah, of course. You
were
have
you-
an intimate relationship with somebody of the same sex, and you may not be swapping spit or other bodily fluids, but you're sharing secrets. You're sharing time. You're being
So that's a
intimate.
no-no.
Some people
you were
can.
gonna
Some
say
people can
something.
handle it. Others cannot.
Can you?
what were you gonna say? You said I have.
That, yeah, I have a good friend, and
No. Do you have
And
a
he's a
best
male.
friend?
no, he's not my best
No,
friend.
I'm just saying when your best friend is male.
okay,
the
no,
opposite
my
sex.
best friend is female,
Yeah.
so I don't fall under that category.
No, because when I hear people, in conversation, they be like, they're married, but yet their best friend is like the opposite sex. I'd be like,
Mm.
is that a good marriage?
Well, the
Depends.
marriage
But
may be fine.
Yeah.
But, it may be that there's all sorts of things.
It
It
may
could
be
be
that they've-
completely innocent and platonic.
It's a childhood friend that I've grown up with, maybe, and we've always been, but yet there's no chemistry, none of that spark, and we don't want anything, but we're best friends because we've known each other forever. I don't see how that would affect. Now, I would want my husband and him to get
right, to have a
'cause
friendship
exactly,
themselves.
to have a friendship. Now, are they going to be besties? No, not necessarily, because that doesn't mean that I'm going to be besties with his best friend.
Mhm.
But I don't think that. I think if the communication is there amongst you and your spouse,
If you've
and
got that kind of jealousy,
I do.
walking. Okay.
well,
then you're the one
hello,
with the
she got
issue.
jealous over me having my phone flipped upside
Yes,
down
I
a couple
do.
weeks ago.
I admit I do.
And that's actually one of the
You're-
things I
you're
was
the one
going to
with the
touch
problem.
on. Right.
That's not really a problem. I find it kind of cute.
Yeah, I just
You're
love the way she
special.
flies off in a jealous rage.
It's
Oh,
so
They're
cute.
so cute.
So
it's
cute.
nice.
So cute when she
It's
starts
just
throwing
If-
stuff.
dead
It's
bunnies
cute.
show up at my house. Yeah,
If
so
you don't
cute.
trust the person
Now,
you're
there's
with,
a difference
why are you
between
with them?
jealousy and trust, and lack of trust. Oh, I trust you with all my heart.
But I'm waiting for the
I'm
other
waiting.
shoe
I'm
to
waiting.
drop,
I'm waiting for the butt.
However,
which is a
the
longer way,
educated
a longer
butt.
way to say but.
but no, I think every relationship needs a little hints of jealousy there. Just a little.
Why?
I think men wants it.
You want men want their women to be jealous of them?
Yes.
No,
No.
Yes.
no,
Yes.
no. See, this is the kind of dirtbag you keep hooking up with that, you're not getting what you want out of a relationship.
I think that's me.
Again, you're the problem.
That-
And I love you.
It's me. That part I would agree with. That's me.
You have this specific idea of this silhouette, if you will, of what your man should be.
On this
And you
journey
keep-
of love.
On this journey,
On,
no,
on-
but
on
see,
your journey of love. And
oh,
you
it
keep
takes
trying to,
but see, it takes a
whether
certain
it's
person to
coach-
be with this uniform.
Coach,
Uniform.
Unicorn.
Oh, that's right. No, she's a unicorn.
I'm a
Lately. You haven't
unicorn.
seen the
Yes,
whole.
I've seen
Yes.
I'm a unicorn, and I really believe it. I am a
that's,
unicorn.
that's great that you feel that way about yourself.
I think that's something
And
that comes
that's fantastic.
with not age so much as experience, where you just really get to a place where your level of comfort with yourself is one that there's other things that you put your effort into and put your energy into than jealousy and these type of things. Like,
Right, but do those things become more important than being in a relationship?
that's the problem.
That's it.
Is it a problem? If you accept it for that is who I am and all this, and then you don't get into a relationship, should you be getting the stink eye from society? Because people do. I mean, they don't call them old maids for nothing. Oh, she's.
So do you
she's
think
not
everybody
married
was
yet.
meant to be in a relationship?
No, not everybody needs to get married. Not everybody.
Yeah, there's
needs
a
to
lot
have
of people
children.
that are
Some
there's a
people
lot
just-
of people that are perfectly happy,
And I
being
agree.
single, not being in a relationship.
There's even
focusing on their
more. They got
career.
no business. They're just not emotionally stable enough. They're not whatever enough. Insert your own reason here.
Right.
To be in a relationship with somebody, it's going to ruin it for the other person. It's going to ruin it for them and everybody else in
But
their
because
life.
society always tells you that at a certain age you need to be married or you need to have kids, or they look at you like something wrong. Look at because if you're over 45, no kids, never been married, society instantly thinks what?
If you're a woman, then you're an old maid. If you're a guy, then you're gay. The confirmed bachelor. If you see a guy who's in his 40s and 50s, and no wife, no kids, nothing like that, the first thing you think is why not?
Whoa.
But is it fair to say that this day and age, people are waiting longer to get married?
Sure.
I would.
Yeah,
They're having second marriages. They're having
Right.
second careers. They're having
Exactly,
second
yeah.
families because people are living longer.
Right.
You go back, well, even not even 100 years ago. If you lived to be 40 years old, that was a ripe old age. Now it's completely feasible
Right.
for us sitting in this room having this conversation that we very well will live into our hundreds, to be 100 years old with advancements in medicine, people taking better care of themselves. It's entirely possible.
Yeah.
So within that, you're going to work the same job for 70 years? Hell no.
Mm-mm.
Are you going to be with the same person in a, you've had kids, you've raised those kids now have their own kids and their own families. Are you going to stay with that person, or are you going to have another chapter to your life?
Depends.
Now that we're living longer, these are actual options
So
that people have.
would you say more so that marriages could have a time limit or an expiration date?
No. They could. I'm sure. I guess they could. I'm going to get married. We're going to be married for this long, and that's it.
For some
And-
people, it happens. Yeah,
Sure.
for some people, it happens.
I'm going to give it 5 years. Let's see what happens. All right. And 5 years come and go, and things are great. They stick with it. If 5 years come and go, and it's not, well, then they move on.
So is it?
It's being honest with yourself is where it
Right.
all starts. Is
Right.
being honest with yourself and what I want, and being okay with. I've made a decision that is going to hurt somebody, and I've got to be okay with it because this is what's right for me, and for me to be okay. And
Is this coming from the male perspective?
I guess so. I'm
Nice.
if you want to get into
Listening?
the male perspective of it and all this, that, and the other thing, we just make us a sandwich and leave us alone. That's it. That's it.
Truly.
We guys, you're going to have certain fellas out there that want to be your friend and have conversations with you and all this, that, and the other thing. But there's a big differences between men and women and how they view the world and how they spend their free time and what they want to do and all this, that, and the other thing. When the problem comes in is when the guy tries to bring the wife and, oh, you're going to come into football and hunting or whatever it is that I'm into, and that's
Bring him
going
into his world.
consume our whole life.
Or you're going to come
Or
into the
you get the-
Kardashians and the
Or the women
housewives.
get the guy to completely get away from whatever it is that he was into to do their thing, whether that's PTA or we're going to go with the kids to soccer or we're going to do this or we're going to do this and we're going to hang around with my friends.
So
No,
that's
there's
one of,
gotta
yeah.
be
So
a
that's
balance.
one of the things that we actually said. a little while ago was the importance of still being able to have a life together,
Have
but
your-
also
yeah.
being able to have your life
Outside.
apart
Having-
and
having-
outside.
Having your own life is what makes you interesting.
Exactly.
Right, because
Right.
then you come and you start talking about
So another thing I think that's important in a good marriage is also being able to compromise,
Oh,
Mhm.
definitely.
right? So having that
Oh,
balance where
yeah.
we can compromise, where everything's not your way or my way, but we actually agree to work as a team and work together to, do things in the marriage that are gonna
and grow together. 'cause
Exactly.
I
Build
mean, we're always
together.
changing and evolving, so we need to change together.
So you're listening to The Female Perspective. We're discussing divorce. Right now, we're finishing up with what makes a good marriage, and pretty soon we're going to get into some of the reasons for divorce. Stay tuned.
You're listening to The Female Perspective with your hosts, Barbie Bonder, Kathy Whitmire, and Arlene Fallon.
This is Wilma Shakespeare
Anger
And Disaster Chief.
from Miami's Vice City Rollers, inviting you to tune in to Rink Rash Radio on 247miami.tv. New shows every Saturday at 9 p.m.
with encore replays Monday at noon and 10 p.m., Tuesdays at 10 a.m.
And Wednesdays at 10 a.m. and again at 10 p.m.
Find out everything you've ever wanted to know about roller derby and the 305,
Get the 411 on the women's team
The men's team,
and even the juniors.
Rink Rash Radio.
Rink Rash Radio
Rink Rash Radio.
on 247miami.tv.
And you see one movie, it's called The Wedding Ringer.
Hey, I'm Kevin Hart.
And I'm Josh Gad.
And right now we're on 24/7 Miami.
You come on out and you see Wedding Ringer.
That's right.
Hello, everybody. George West here to tell you what you can expect on 247miami.tv. How about the 305 Nuts? My show, The George West Show, The Dirty Laundry, The Fantasy Frauds, Metal and Mayhem, plus the best DJs Miami has to offer. You can find it all right here on 247miami.tv, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Try to get a deal like that anywhere else. Afraid you just can't do it. Only here, 247miami.tv.
I'm Alexia Chavarria. I'm Marisol Patton, and you're listening to 24/7 Miami. It is Dirty Laundry with Angie and Barbie.
And now back to The Female Perspective with your hosts, Barbie Bonder, Kathy Whitmire, and Arlene Fallon.
Hi, welcome back to The Female Perspective. I'm Barbie Bonder, LCSW.
I'm Kathy Whitmire, LMHC.
And I'm Arlene Thielon, a psychotherapist.
I wanted to ask a quick question before we move on. What do you guys think of married couples that work together? How do you think? I mean, I know some people do it.
If it works for you, kudos to you.
Right? But
I think if they started from the beginning, they build it together, that it will work if they incorporate it in their lives, everyday lives. But if they met on your shaking.
Some people like liver and onions. The rest of us won't put something in their mouth that gets bigger when you chew it.
I just have a hard time. I mean, it's got to be hard leaving work at work and home at home, because if y'all have a fight because he didn't get the girls ready for school in the morning, and then we get to the office, that takes a very strong personality and very strong
And I think that's when the
ability
relationship
to
turns
say,
to a
okay,
business
But that's what I'm saying.
altogether.
If you are able to do that,
no, to me it blows
and you
my
can make that
mind.
work, kudos to you. Would I want to kind of have
Hell
everything
to the
just
no.
Why not?
Yeah, would I want everything enmeshed like that? No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. I want my time at work with my coworkers and my time and being separated from my home life
Right.
and then going home to my home life, but to have to
One's an escape from the other.
yeah, and like I said, I don't want to make it sound nasty, but
No,
I guess
please
it is.
say, please say.
I don't want to have to see my husband at home and then see my husband at work and then see my husband at night and then see my husband in the morning and drive with him to work and drive home with him and then
Okay, what about them that special time when nobody's in the office and he just call you in there,
We can have special time at home when the kids are in bed. We don't got to work together for a special time.
I don't know. I think it's different. Like if you build it together, when some couples come together and they build a corporation, just look at. I can't even think of nobody. I was gonna
Exactly.
say-
Exactly.
It's not very
think of
common.
nobody. I can't think of nobody.
But let's be honest. So you are at home with your husband and you have a really nasty fight and you just had a really bad night, things are just not going great. You know, you're just kind of on each other's nerves. And now you got to drive to work together and you got to look at each other all day.
Be hard
And
to
be
separate.
professional.
And be
It's gonna be- that's
professional.
And not
gonna be hard
let
to
your
separate.
home life
Not let that,
affect-
not, you know, and maybe be in meetings and maybe be in planning sessions with him and not let that anger from the
Well,
night
you're
before.
mad, but you go to work and now you've got to be professional and all this. So you're putting on a mask
Mhm.
for your clients, for your employees,
Right.
all this, that, and the other thing. You think that might get a little confusing that, you know,
Yeah.
you were just raging at me when we left the house, but you were so sweet all
And
day.
even in the car, you
And
were
it's-
probably like fighting with me, and we're
Well, I
like,
don't
and I'm
think they're
zooming through
driving.
traffic.
I
And
don't think they're
as soon as
driving
we get back in
together.
the car, we
oh, they're
you know,
not driving
They're
together.
not driving together.
Oh,
Everybody
no.
have their own car.
So everyone, so we're driving in separate cars from the same point A to point B.
Yes, because I like to listen to Hot 105 and he likes to listen to whatever.
NPR.
There you go.
Right. So then we're just gonna drive behind each other
Right.
and
just-
use more gas
Okay,
to
that's
go to
same
the
thing-
same place.
That's the same thing as dating on your job. Like, would you?
Oh, you don't
date-
tip
you
the
just-
pen in
yeah,
Company Inc. No.
You don't
No.
eat where you.
No.
That,
No, yeah, you
that's
don't.
why so many companies have
A big
policies,
policies.
against that. But I think I think honestly, the way Wes put it was the best. Work and home are escapes from each other. Like you're at work and you can't wait to go home to be able to like distress, to disconnect.
Oh, it's
from
not
work.
that, but I don't think it's the flip side that I'm at home and I can't wait to go to work. I mean,
No, but there's some times when maybe, you know, you're
but it
at-
is an escape. No,
you
I
know,
do
you're
get
at
what you're
home
saying.
and it gives being at work gives you an ability to disconnect from everything that's
Right.
happening at home, just like being at home gives you an ability to disconnect from everything
you have
that's
6 to
happening
8
at work.
hours where you don't got to think
Okay,
about your
so
relationship.
rules. Let me
Right.
write these down. Rule number 1 to a good marriage is do not work
Work together.
together.
There you
There
go.
Got you. Rule 1.
So we said compromise is important. We said a friendship is important.
Have your own life.
Have your
Yeah.
own life. Communication.
Communication is
key.
so important.
Like, may I just on an, you know, as a fella here in the
Mm.
female perspective, the male voice of idiocy or reason, depending. Honesty. If you're going to communicate, communication is great. You cannot be afraid to tell the other person the truth. And I've seen where I don't want to hurt her feelings. I'm, you know,
Wow,
no,
it's coming over my way.
tell that woman the truth. And as my wife will, you know, admit to, there's been times where she's gotten phone calls from me where it's like, hey, this just happened. And it's better you hear about it from me right now than somebody else tells you a month from now and I didn't tell you or something like this.
Mhm.
And I love
Right,
that about
that's-
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
And that's
love that
100%
about you.
That is 100% accurate. I think that's what comes into having that honesty and communication with
Don't
your
believe
partner.
me. If you're upfront and honest all the time when it counts, you
Yeah.
know, we had an incident once, you know, it was just a miscommunication thing where she was worried that, you know, I was stepping out on the marriage. And she asked me about it. She confronted me about it. And, you know, I looked her in the eye and I told her the truth like I've always done.
Mhm.
And she knew that, okay, yeah, this it didn't seem right, but I needed to ask because I
Right,
didn't
right.
feel right. And, you know, and I assured her that, and I because I'd always told the truth before, because I had never hidden anything.
Mhm.
I was able, you know, there was, and it looked bad.
Oh, it looked bad.
it looked
oh,
bad.
You were in the doghouse.
It looked bad.
It looked so bad.
No, but
But it was
remember,
completely innocent. It, you know, nothing going on. And then once I explained that to her, and because we had this relationship where I had always, and still to this day,
And honest.
I
and
would
she was
rather
honest.
you
Right.
hear about it from me and
Oh,
get
yeah.
a little mad now
Yeah.
than
I
a
mean,
month from now.
it'll be like,
You know
hey,
what?
Did- a month
some
ago,
girl-
did you do this? And how come I had to hear about it from this?
Hey,
some
Wes for
girls
president.
flirting with me in the elevator. I bet you better hear from me. I'm like, okay. Well, you never know if someone that you know is in. Oh, well, this girl was flirting with me, you know, with him in the elevator, and
But let me be honest with you. When I do a lot of couple counseling and like marriage counseling, and one of the big issues that I can tell you that I see throughout is this lack of communication with each other, where then the other person is just left to assume things.
Mhm.
And when you assume,
Mm.
your
The worst.
assumptions
It's
are
always
not
the worst, right.
necessarily
Mm-mm.
accurate. You're assuming things based on your belief, on your
Feelings
character, on
or-
your feelings, on your personality, and that might not be where you're at. And that I can say is one of the biggest problems that I've seen in private practice with couples counseling, is the fact that everything is kind of like left up for assumption and nothing is really discussed. And then I'm mad about something that didn't even happen, but I assume, and then you're mad that I'm mad. And then no one really like sits and talks about the facts, and nobody really sits and discusses what it is that's happening. So everything's just kind of built on this assumption. And for the most part, you know, assumptions really aren't accurate because they're based on feelings. And if I'm angry at the moment, my assumption is going to be very different than if I'm thinking from an intellectual place.
Now, I hear a lot of men saying they don't want to hurt their wives' feelings. And I have to be like, you need to tell this. It's not about hurting the feelings, because guess what? Tomorrow is going to
If
be
you
a
didn't
new
want to
day.
hurt her feelings, you wouldn't have done whatever you did in the first place.
So that's the reason why. You're right. You're absolutely right. But that's what I hear a lot when I do couples. So like, well, why didn't you just tell her this at the beginning before it even exploded to this? I didn't want to hurt her feelings. But how do she feel now?
Still hurt.
Thank you.
Exactly. So there's something here that I thought was interesting, which says, wait, where was it?
Dead air.
I don't like the one. I mean, I like the one that says like, "Don't fix things by fixing your
I was
partner."
just gonna read that.
Yeah,
You
no,
don't
you
fix
can't-
things
You
by fixing your
cannot,
partner.
you cannot fix somebody.
You can't change
You can't-
someone. You may be able to change, you know, or encourage the change of little quirks and stuff, such as, you know, knives.
They must be willing to change for you when they see something that you don't
No,
like.
and your own stuff. You can't project your own stuff onto somebody else. If I don't like the way that he loads the dishwasher, then maybe I should load the dishwasher, or
If it
maybe
means
I
that
should
much to you,
then do it myself.
go do it the way you want it done.
Exactly.
There you go.
But
Here's-
don't sit there and say, you know, the little backhanded comments or passive aggressive comments
Or just sit there and stew in your own hate.
Right.
over,
that-
you
You
know,
know
that
exactly
don't-
what I'm talking about. You just sit there and
Yeah,
the
you just
COVID
sit there,
coils
yeah.
up behind your eyes. That son of a bitch.
just didn't
Puts
know how to
The toilet
load.
paper on upside down,
And then
putting a
that's-
knife on the edge of the sink,
I don't like the
leaving
way,
his underwear.
I don't like the way he breathes. at night, you know? I don't like the sound his toothbrush make when he brushing his teeth.
He's breathing
Why
too
does he
loud.
try to talk to me in the morning?
Hey, I'm not a morning person. Okay.
No, you're not.
No, I'm
No,
not.
you're
I'm not. I'm not
I'm
a
not
morning
either.
person.
I'm not either.
I need my space. To
Now I'm
my,
just the opposite. I'm a morning person. I make phone calls and texts at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning everywhere.
You're like, hey,
Oh,
hey,
no.
the sun is up.
No.
Reminds me of Frozen when she's like, the sun's awake, so I'm awake. It's no.
Yes,
So
you
there's
have
another
kids.
one here that I thought was interesting, which is forget whether you're right or wrong. The question is
Is
what
it-
you're doing working or not working?
Oh, that
I
is
think
so,
so
right.
often in not only marriage but relationships. I see people get so caught up in, you know, I'm right, you're wrong, this is right, this is wrong, blah blah, and we just
Just like marriage therapy here, right, baby?
sit and fester in that.
I have a real problem with that because of the way I grew up and then going into the military, being wrong was never an option for me.
Right.
So it was always shut up and don't do anything unless make sure you're doing the 100% right thing. So we had a real problem with that. It's like, no, my way is the right way. I've thought about this. I've done it before. Doing it your way, this is the problem that's going to be caused 15 minutes after you finished. You're going to have this happen. And even though, lo and behold, what I said came true, that doesn't matter. I've now driven a wedge between my wife and I
Right.
because I had to be right.
Right. Exactly.
Tell me what to do.
And it had to be right. Sometimes
Didn't he say
Sometimes you
Huh?
have to let
Didn't he say
people
hush?
fall on their face. The people that you love, you have to let them fall on their face. And what you can't do, and just take this from, you know, a little free
From the
advice
male
from me to you.
perspective.
A
From
little
the
free
male
advice from me to you. The words "told you so."
Oh, that no.
Yeah. You see that?
No. See, I could have told you that.
Yeah.
You're
No.
signing. You're
No.
Hey, listen,
signing
I'm
over.
just
Yeah,
trying to-
you're signing over.
I'm
right
just
now.
trying to help any of the fellas out there
No.
that might be listening, like they're watching tapes from behind enemy lines.
No.
No.
I mean,
Right?
I've had
Don't
these
say
problems
that.
in the past, and in the interest of always being right, I don't do that no more.
Or
But
you could just say, I'm not gonna say it, but
No,
Mm.
no, you can't even do
No,
that.
you can't even imply.
But it's,
That told you
it's,
so.
you
It's
know,
gotta
it's
be,
the
oh
same
my
thing.
God, are you okay? I had no idea that was going to happen.
There you go. That's
Remember
much more
also
Well,
well
you
that
know,
received.
maybe if you'd done it the way that I originally suggested, no pressure. You
no
wouldn't
shade,
have to
no
nosebleed now.
shade, no shade.
But it's like I one of the things I always say is choose your battles. You know,
Oh,
there's
yeah,
just certain
definitely.
things that are just not worth getting into. It's just not
No,
worth
it's not.
arguing over. You know, there's simple things that you just kind of have to learn in any relationship, even a friendship. to just kind of let certain things.
Yeah, and that's what
slide by,
compromise
because
comes
that's
into
part of the
play.
compromising.
That's what makes a relationship work. It's not that
Give and take.
the
It's
love, and I
50-50.
love how this about him, and I love that
Right.
about her, and she's so great, and he's so awesome.
So you really think relationships are 50-50?
Well, no, and I was
No,
going to
I was just
continue.
gonna say no.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
50-50, and sometimes it's 70-30, and sometimes it's 30-70, and
No,
sometimes
relationships are 100-100.
Oh, that's right. I saw that the other
Says the
day.
two single ladies.
That's right, baby.
That's
Mhm.
right.
That's
I'm
right.
sorry, but y'all don't know what the hell you're talking
That's
about.
right.
But we talk it though.
You do talking.
Yes. No, but it's give and take. Yes, I've heard the 100-100. Everybody needs to put in 100% effort, but it's not going to go my way 100% of the time. It's not going to go his way 100% of the time. So sometimes it's going to be 100, and I get my way because I get my way. Sometimes he gets his way. Sometimes it's a little bit this way, a
Sometimes
little
you
bit
both
that
do
way.
what the hell you want to do, and everybody minds their own business.
Yeah. So, but
You
there's
know.
got to be that communication of, hey, babe, you know what? I really don't want to go watch you do this, or I really don't want to go watch football today. So I'm going to go to the mall for a little bit.
I hear you. You have a good time doing whatever you're going to do. I'm going to go do this, and we'll catch up later.
Yeah, we'll have something to talk about, and it'll be great.
The Wes and Kitty
Oh,
show.
I feel like I'm inside the walls of
our house, of
your
Casa West.
Yes, I
Casa
really do.
West.
Oh, we had, since we're talking about us, and I'm good at that.
No.
We had lunch with some folks that Kathy's been working with last week, and nice lunch. I had never met any of these folks, these ladies before. So we're sitting down, we're eating, and so how long have you been married?
Because they talk like that.
That's
how they all sound to him.
to me.
We
So,
sound like that to him too, by the way.
so
Really?
don't start.
Don't start.
Don't start. I'm in the middle of something.
So how long
we're
have you
sitting
been
down, we're
married?
having lunch. How long you been married? Whatever you do, just do what you got to do to keep it strong. We're not having a problem. Thanks for your advice. I'm sorry things didn't work out for you. But I'm not doing the dumb crap your husband did.
True. No, her point was, it's marriage is hard, but it's harder. Divorce is harder on the kids.
It is.
And tried to do right. Tried
yeah,
to
that's
do.
not really
But
a-
then she.
We
But then
breathe
she
air.
said, but also don't put up with the shit. You got to know when to stop. If it's gonna be, if you have to walk away for your
That's a two-way
sake
street.
and
Yeah,
for
but
your
that's I was just gonna
sanity,
say that goes both ways.
Exactly.
And
Ask her about her
Exactly.
scrapbooking.
common sense.
Ask her about her scrapbooking.
What about it?
Where's all your scrapbooking stuff? It's all put up. Why? And when's the last time you went out and dropped $100 on scrapbooking?
Okay,
stuff?
no, well, I don't do that, and I use all those supplies for all of this
Yeah, but you
thinking
bought
school
them
project.
15 years ago. You
15
dropped like
years ago.
$500,000. and
Exaggerations. Honestly.
it seemed like $500,000 at the time.
Talk about it. What she go to Michael's and spend like $300?
No, not even. Just
Not
for
even.
Christmas, I was like, I just want scrapbooking stuff. And just, 3 kids
never
later,
used
not
any of it.
true. I have several books that are lovely.
I'd love to see them.
I will show them to you when we get home. Remind me.
I'm looking forward
The
to
West
it.
You will
Kitty
love
show.
them.
I can't.
Yeah, not a good topic with us guys today. Come on.
So
We'll be back.
Don't forget to join us on the Facebook of The Female Perspective. Please like us, join us, talk about us.
You're listening to The Female Perspective with Barbie Ponder, Kathy Whitmire, and Arlene Thalon.
Calor y sabor. Aquí en 24/7 Miami.
Octavio, yo, Doc Ock. What? Get your together. We gotta go. Go where? We're moving. Did you hear the memo? We're moving to Wednesdays. Wednesdays? Yes, we're moving to Wednesdays at 7. Get your together. Put John and Ricky in the box. We gotta go. Okay. Get me out of here.
That's right. The Royo Show is moving now to Wednesdays at 7 o'clock, only on 247miami.tv.
This is Wilma Shakespeare
Anger.
And Disaster Chief.
from Miami's Vice City Rollers, inviting you to tune in to Rink Rash Radio on 247miami.tv. New shows every Saturday at 9 p.m.
With encore replays Monday at noon and 10 p.m., Tuesdays at 10 a.m.
And Wednesdays at 10 a.m. and again at 10 p.m.
Find out everything you've ever wanted to know about roller derby and the 305,
Get the 411 on the women's team
The men's team,
and even the juniors.
Rink Rash Radio.
Rink Rash Radio
Rink Rash Radio.
on 247miami.tv.
Hello, everybody. George West here to tell you what you can expect on 247miami.tv. How about the 305 Nuts? My show, The George West Show, The Dirty Laundry, The Fantasy Frauds, Metal and Mayhem, plus the best DJs Miami has to offer. You can find it all right here on 247miami.tv, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Try to get a deal like that anywhere else. Afraid you just can't do it. Only here, 247miami.tv. Welcome back to The Female Perspective with your hosts, Barbie Bonder, Kathy Whitmire, and Arlene Thalon.
Hi, welcome back to The Female Perspective. Today we're discussing divorce. We went over marriage, what it is that makes a good marriage, what some of those contributing factors to good marriage are, and we agreed it was communication, being honest, compromise.
Don't work together.
Don't work together. Communication, have your own life.
Don't try to fix your partner.
Right. Yeah. People
And
have
marry
to want
somebody-
to change. You
and
can't
marry
change
somebody
somebody.
named Wes.
So now with that being said, unfortunately people either for whatever reason, whether they grow apart, whether I don't know, the marriage wasn't what they expected, whether
Catch
they
a
didn't
case
really
of the
know,
stupids.
whatever, yeah, whatever that situation might be, sometimes that marriage has to end up in divorce, whether you've tried everything or just decided not to try anything or just kind of came to the conclusion that, this just isn't for me or we're just not for each other or this isn't the right place to be, then it ends up becoming that, we've decided or one person has decided to leave the marriage and then therefore that leads to divorce in the marriage.
Before we start on that, for the record, divorce is nothing like divorce court on TV.
No.
It's nothing like that. I don't know. When I met with, I don't know why I had this feeling like when I went in for my divorce that, the judge was going to be sitting there and, people was going to be in the background laughing and,
Arlene, like you have your own rooting section.
But we went into chambers and we just sat there with the judge and she literally asked us really deep questions. It was maybe 3 different couples. And
you weren't alone?
No.
Oh.
And one of the
Yeah, no, they're multitasking. They're not one at a time in there. This is divorce we're talking about. We'd
we'll
be here
there
all day.
And the crazy thing about it was that when you explained to the judge the reasoning for your divorce, after she read the paper or whatever, one couple she did not sign.
Really?
What was their reason?
She did not sign it. She says this is not the end of this relationship. And she left them there. She actually granted but mine was actually annulled. She annulled mine. The other couple was granted, and she stayed with the couple that she did not sign.
So one of each.
Yeah.
And what did she give them counseling after?
Maybe that's why they're doing 3 at a time.
Yeah, but we left and she would not sign them and they had to come back, I think within 6 months. I don't know if she gave them counseling or gave them, I don't know what she did because we wasn't there, but I just found it very interesting when we walked out, she sat there and talked to them. So even though that if you apply for a divorce, it's not necessarily granted right then and there. And I found that very,
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. So now the judge could be
figured
like,
like
no, you're staying married. You gotta stick with this one.
Yeah.
That sounds a little,
How long were you married before you got divorced?
Man, no, maybe 6 months, maybe.
So yeah, but she just said she got it.
No, but that's one of the things I wanted to know was how long it was to see why it is that she gave you an annulment.
Yeah, she let us get an annulment. Because of, the situation that happened, she explained.
So then you're not divorced. You've just never
was
been married.
You're
Same
single.
here.
That's right. You are married now, so
I am married now.
Yeah,
and proud.
Lucky me.
That's right.
She's a bucket full, but I love her.
So
Not
one of the
me.
things here that it says
This
is
is
why is
interesting.
it that people get divorced? So there's 2 things here that are listed, which is usually if you get divorced within the 5 to 7 year period, it's due to high conflict. And if you get divorced between the 10 to 12 year period, it's due to a loss of intimacy and connection with your partner.
Money's not in there?
I guess that's the high conflict.
That would probably be high conflict.
That would probably be, I would say that's high conflict.
High conflict or,
Because
something
usually-
stressful.
Usually your financial issues and divorces, I don't think would happen after you've been with someone
Yeah, more than 10.
such a
15
long
years,
period of time. I think it would kind of be that part.
No,
where
I
we-
mean, you imagine, and you've all, this old chestnut, everything's great. It's Leave It to Beaver, right? And then dad loses his job. We got to, the house gets foreclosed on, and we went from having this wonderful TV sitcom life to where now we're all living in a, 2-bedroom apartment and not the best side of town. Dad's, doing what he can to scrape by to just barely keep things together.
And that's true. And I think that that would probably be an exception to the rule. But I also think that those cases are not as prevalent as other
Yeah, I
cases
think you're starting to
statistically.
see, if the statistics say that families are the number one
You're talking about like
growing group
in-laws?
of homeless.
Oh.
Whole families.
Right. But remember that then what you're looking at statistically is, yes, that could happen and probably has happened. But how many of those marriages actually end in divorce because of the finances? How many wives are willing to
Well, I think we
stick
could say
around?
that it's a major contributing factor.
Not according to what it is that we're looking at here.
Okay, well, break down them stats like a fraction for me.
Just saying,
Learn,
just saying.
learn me here. What am I?
So one of the things that is discussed by Gottman here in relationship reasons for divorce is he actually says that oftentimes divorce is passed down from divorcing parents to their children.
Because now it's seen as an option now.
Right.
Because it's seen as same thing as in suicide. Not to bring up something,
Well, I think that kind of spans the gamut, not just suicide, but if it was okay for daddy to hit my mommy, then it's okay for husband to hit me. Or it's okay for me to hit my wife.
So that comes back to children learn from what they experience.
Like I said, it's an option now.
what it
if
is that they see.
If it never was there from the beginning, it would never be a choice.
Absolutely. So what are some of the reasons for why a divorce happens? One of the things here is unrealistic expectations.
Oh, yeah.
So that's something that we even covered when we discussed, remember, online dating? And we went into some of those unrealistic expectations that people have when they start dating.
Right.
Arlene.
Hey, I'm a unicorn, okay?
I'm a unicorn.
I'm a unicorn. I'm a special and unique snowflake.
So it's one of the same things also that happens in marriages. A lot of people have a certain set idea for what it is that marriage is. This
fairy
was it a
tale.
long, happy, a journey of love?
The journey of love.
Yeah.
So you have a set idea for what it is that you think marriage is going to be, how you kind
Then
of have mapped out in your
Life
life.
goes off script.
that
There's the
it's
movie
gonna-
in your mind.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Not
and we
know
go,
how to handle it
And something ends up happening that's not expected.
because they don't show that part in the movie.
No.
They don't.
And
show
come
that
on,
part.
we were raised with Disney and
Cinderella,
Right.
the happy
ever after.
They never say nothing about divorce. Never.
No, I
They
don't.
always see
You know,
riding off into the sunset.
Ariel and Eric are happily married with
Thank
their
you.
little mer people, and
Mer
whatever, half mer, half people.
Smurfette having fun with 100 Smurfs.
They lay eggs. Smurfs lay eggs. That's the only reasonable explanation that you can explain that. One female, she's got to lay eggs like an ant. What?
I can't with him. I can't. I really can't.
You guys don't think about this stuff?
No.
So then every egg that's laid is a male egg?
Same way it is with ants.
Because of temperature, like
until
alligators.
until
No.
Smurfette dies, and then they'll one of them just kind of morphs into the next Smurfette. That's my theory anyway.
I can't believe this is
I
even
don't. Yeah,
thought
I
about
don't
that.
even go
He
there.
literally
I don't
put
even
thought
know
He
into
why.
it.
has. You know
I
what
can
he
hear
has?
it. I can hear
He
it.
stays up at night dreaming up these scenarios.
What do you guys think about?
Not that. When Scandal's coming back on,
Or
you know.
how I'm gonna treat my future husband.
There we
Do I
go.
need to sprinkle some more unicorn dust over him?
Yes, always.
Okay.
So do you think a lot of people have unrealistic expectations of what marriage
absolutely.
is?
Definitely.
Absolutely. And I think the
Definitely.
media and
Definitely.
and society has, I think now with, reality TV, now we see more of, but back when we were growing
Well,
up,
and
it
even
was,
then, I mean, how real is reality TV?
well, true, but you see
It's
other
pretty close. I mean, when I look at like say what's the Housewives of Atlanta or
you don't
the
think that is
Basketball Wives.
scripted?
I mean, I know it's scripted, but it's pretty close to the truth because these women.
If
they
it is,
literally-
those are some of the most horrible people on this planet.
No, but I'm just saying. But if you listen to the way they talk, you look at these women, they be like how they have accepted that their men are going to go and cheat and have relationships when they're on the road, and then come back home to them. They have accepted that into their marriage.
Yeah, but that's been the case for many moons ago.
There are women out there that are okay with that.
Many moons ago, I know in certain cultures, or communities
There's
or
still
whatever you want to
subcultures
call it.
today that-
Right. It was always as long as your family was taken care of and as long as you came home at night, that was respectful to your wife. So as long as you were sleeping
As
in
long
your
as you were
home
discreet.
and as long as you were discreet and you never put your wife out there, as long as you paid the bills and took care of the kids, whatever it is that you did on your own time was okay, as long as everything else was taken care of.
Not I.
Well,
Not you,
yeah.
but I'm not talking about our generation.
Okay.
I'm talking about back
She's
in
talking
our,
about a generation like we're talking like the 50s.
we're talking about our
where
grandparents.
divorce was a big no-no.
You
And-
didn't get divorced.
No,
that
It
was
just didn't happen. Your husband beat you. Well, what are you
Yeah,
doing to
because,
make him want to beat you? Stop doing that.
Yeah, because I used to when I used to counsel like couples and everything, and he's like, "Oh, people be married 40 and 50 years. You don't never hear about what they went through to get to those 40 and 50 years.
All kinds of stuff.
until
It did,
you go
yeah.
through that. When you go
No, but
through that,
and
that's
nowadays
when-
it's so easy to get divorced.
Divorce,
Back
right.
then, no, and it was you were
There
going
was
to
a
be
social
shunned.
stigma.
It was she's a divorcee.
You had a scarlet letter.
Yeah.
It was kind of like no one would ever look at you again because you already were somebody who had been,
I remember that scene
in a
from Walk
marriage.
the Line where June Carter Cash is in a grocery store, and she had just gotten divorced from an abusive husband, and her and Johnny Cash, and he had just divorced his wife, and now they're kind of getting together, and some woman comes in, divorce is a sin, and just shames her right there, and that's so foreign to what we're used to nowadays.
Oh yeah, people get 3-4 divorces, and
No, and back then also women were not strong in the workforce. So how are you going to make ends meet?
That was a big
if
part.
you didn't have the husband that was going out and bringing home the
Right.
bacon and stuff. There was
Most of those
nothing- what
women
you
were
gonna
at
do?
stay, moms were in charge of being home, cleaning the home,
Right, raising the kids and
taking
all
care of
that.
the kids, and we're not able to work because remember, you weren't able to even really go to school because that was not an option.
You're either a nurse or a librarian or a teacher. That was
And
it.
that's
Those
if
were,
you
those
had
were the
the
three
choice.
jobs
And that's if
options.
you even had that choice because
be
back
able
in the
to
time,
work.
back in the time of my grandparents,
the woman
did not work.
So we're talking Latin American countries. You being what, Colombian, right? And you being Venezuelan.
I'm not. No.
Why you always confusing
No.
her as being?
Whatever.
Ay.
Whatever.
She's an other. If
You
don't
didn't
know that
have
by now.
nurses. You didn't have school teachers.
No,
you didn't
yeah,
have
no. My
librarians.
mom and the women in my mom's family, my dad's family in
Yes,
South
but
America, they did not
in
work.
your culture. Those were
Right.
the 3 accepted jobs for single women to have. And then once you got married, or secretary was the other one, or waitress.
But here's the thing: you're
Once
talking.
you got married, you didn't work anymore.
But prior to that generation that you're even speaking of, going back generations, the woman did not work.
Sure, they
You
did. They
act-
worked in the fields. Yeah, they
No,
did.
they did not.
You say the fields.
No, they did not. They
it was
actually.
an agrarian culture. It was an agrarian society.
You actually
everybody
got-
worked
you
in
actually-
the fields, Arlene.
No, they
Or
didn't.
You was barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen.
No,
every
they
9
didn't. You
months.
actually got married when you were very young. You got married when you were very young,
Like 13.
and you married someone who was much older. And for a lot of the part, you only finished basic schooling,
Right?
And you got married and lived your life with your husband, but you
But then
never
I think
went.
you have no choice then but to stay with your husband.
And
because
that's the point.
That's
all-
exactly
and
what
that's
we're
exactly
talking
what we're
about.
talking
You are
about.
totally
So that's why you
dependent.
see.
So that's
60
what we're-
years
Let's break this
marriage.
down a little bit farther. In the time that you're talking about, women were property, chattel.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
basically.
It's
I'd
only
rather
it's only in the last not even 100 years that you've been recognized as actual people who can own property, vote. all that. You've only gotten that in the last 100 years. Before that, women were chattel.
Well, yeah, and then remember it
You
used
say
to
that
come with
like
a
that was a
dowry,
mistake.
Mhm.
and
No, I
how,
don't
how
say that. I'm
big
saying
that
it's
dowry
making a
was
statement
was
of fact,
how
Arlene. This is
how
the way life
appealing you
was
were.
for everybody. Everybody. Women, children, animals, slaves. This was life. In ancient Rome, there was nothing, being a slave didn't have the connotation that it has today. And nobody gave you the stink eye that an African-American woman such as yourself would give to me. We're not talking about American slavery. We're not talking about black people. We're talking about world history.
And in world history, women I think that's the problem now. We have some men now that have not evolved to the woman of today, and they still have this
mentality
of women of yesterday. And it's not like
But
that.
but that's not only men, because again, as we discussed previously, you know, what society deems is appropriate. So being a 40-year-old woman who's single, who doesn't
No
have kids,
kids.
who has a career, who supports herself and is independent, is not only looked at by some men, but it's looked down at by some people
Why
in
isn't she
society
married
and some
yet?
women. Why isn't
What's
she
wrong with
married? What's
her?
wrong with
Right.
her? You know, I get asked a lot of time, are you married? And then when I say no, well, have you ever been married? No. But why not?
Please tell me what your answer be.
I said just because I've never been married does not mean I've never been in a relationship.
Right.
You know, having been in a long-term relationship does not equate never having an opportunity to, you know, be with someone. So stay tuned. You're listening to The Female Perspective. We're going to get back and talk a little bit more about divorce.
You're listening to The Female Perspective with your hosts, Barbie Bonder, Kathy Whittenware, and Arlene Fallon.
Calor y sabor. Aquí en 24/7 Miami.
This is Wilma Shakespeare
Anger.
And Disaster Chief.
from Miami's Vice City Rollers, inviting you to tune in to Rink Rash Radio on 247miami.tv. New shows every Saturday at 9 p.m.
With encore replays Monday at noon and 10 p.m., Tuesdays at 10 a.m.
And Wednesdays at 10 a.m. and again at 10 p.m.
Find out everything you've ever wanted to know about roller derby and the 305,
Get the 411 on the women's team
The men's team,
and even the juniors.
Rink Rash Radio.
Rink Rash Radio
Rink Rash Radio.
on 247miami.tv.
I'm Alexia Chavarria. I'm Marisol Patton, and you're listening to 24/7 Miami. It is Dirty Laundry with Angie and Barbie.
Hello, everybody. George West here to tell you what you can expect on 247miami.tv. How about the 305 Nuts? My show, The George West Show, The Dirty Laundry, The Fantasy Frauds, Metal and Mayhem, plus the best DJs Miami has to offer. You can find it all right here on 247miami.tv, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Try to get a deal like that anywhere else. Afraid you just can't do it. Only here, 247miami.tv.
And you see one movie, it's called The Wedding Ringer.
Hey, I'm Kevin Hart.
And I'm Josh Gad.
And right now we're on 24/7
Miami. You come on out and you see Wedding Ringer.
That's right.
And now, back to The Female Perspective with your hosts, Arlene Fallon, Kathy Whitmire, and the hip-hop queen, Arlene Fallon.
Hi, welcome back to The Female Perspective. Today we're discussing divorce. Some of the reasons why it is that couples get divorced. The first one that we discussed was unrealistic expectations. Those unrealistic expectations people have about what marriage should be.
Mm-hmm.
And now let's talk a little bit about failure to resolve key problems. So in a marriage. So for example, most of those big issues that happen in marriages is because happy couples are able to get to a place of resolution, but you don't really fix.
Right. It's all fixed on the surface.
Well,
It
it's one
looks
of the
nice
things,
from the outside.
No, it's one of the things that we actually discussed when we were talking about what a happy marriage is. And one of the things was, where is it? There's no right or wrong way to fix a relationship. You find your way that works. But recognize that when it's not working, and you need to be honest, when it needs to be fixed, you don't fix things by fixing your partner.
Right.
So you don't necessarily solve problems, you learn how to manage them. A lot of problems in marriages or even in life in general are not really things that are up to us
to solve.
You know, they're
exactly.
kind of things that are in other areas where we don't have control. So instead of putting all this energy into trying to fix something that I don't have the control over what that situation might be, is how do we learn to manage that situation? How do we learn to live with whatever this problem that has come up is?
Easy. Happy wife, happy life. That's the motto.
It's true. He says it all the time.
Happy wife,
Okay, he's
happy
nodding.
life. If you
Yes.
can, if you
Yes.
keep your wife happy,
Sorry, I was doing technical stuff over here. But yes, she's right.
hint, hint, keep her happy. Just if you keep her happy, her mind will not be in other areas or trying to.
But that's the same thing both ways.
I was just gonna say,
I-
everything that you're saying,
You know, that goes both ways.
flip it around.
I like the finger gesture over there.
Flip it around.
I'm
Nobody's flipping you off. What are you gonna do? Like, everything I do today is either it's a race thing or I'm out to get you. Do you need a hug?
I think so.
You need a hug?
We're gonna
We'll do a
I will
group
take
hug.
my
we're gonna
shirt
do a
off
group
and come over
hug.
there
Group
and hug
hug.
you.
We'll do a
Man.
group hug after the show.
I will make you uncomfortable right in front of my wife. I'll do it.
But one of the key things is, happy marriages. You have to learn, again, like we discussed before, what are some of the things that make a happy marriage? It's being able to compromise. It's being able to negotiate. It's being able to work together to get to a point where we both want to be. It's not one-sided, like happy wife, happy life.
No,
It's
it's
not
happy
one-sided,
partner, happy life, I would say.
exactly. So it's happy partner, happy life. Both people have to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the next things that we were going to discuss is
No,
affairs.
needs. No, it needs, and everybody has needs
You
that you need to have taken care of.
I'm a big believer. If you are happy in your relationship and you have an honest relationship where you can communicate and have this kind of interaction with who your partner is, there's nobody else in the world that could kind of come in and make me gear away from where it is that I am.
Mm-hmm.
When
This is where it gets difficult for fellas to be open and honest with their women because it's gonna hurt your feelings.
Right.
I'm can I spill some truth here, baby?
You've been doing it all morning.
Yeah.
My wife knows that I desire to sleep with other women. Guess what? Every guy does. Okay?
Right.
Surprise.
Every guy does. Surprise! He may love you to death. You may be, the center of his world. Guess what? He wants to put it somewhere strange. He does. All right? Men are genetically predisposed for this. All right? The one thing that what my wife asks for me that, she's got to, well, there's more than one.
There's more than one.
There's
I was
more than
going to
one.
say, wow, that's
Just
pretty
one.
generous.
I am awesome.
But she asked me for fidelity.
Right.
All right. Now I knew what that meant. And I knew what that meant, but I knew what I was getting in the trade-off, that I was getting this awesome woman who is a wonderful mother to my children, a great wife to me, makes me a better man, makes me a better person. So I got all that out of this, and all it costs is
To keep
keep
your
it in my
pee-pee your
pants. Now, if there's something I want in the bedroom, I ask for it.
Right.
And if there's something that I, she's, for example, for example, no, I'll give you a perfect example.
Careful there,
This
buddy.
morning, she cut her own hair. She cut her, which is, good advice. Never cut your own hair, but she cut her own. So she, trims up her bangs. Right. I thought she looked great. Right. I got no issue with it at all. Okay. Yeah, okay. Great. Looks good. She gets to mom's house. Right.
Oh,
And
yeah,
mom
I heard
immediately
the
has
story.
something negative
Right.
to say about
Well,
her
because
hair.
it's, parents love to criticize.
Right. Now, if it was me and she had done something to her hair that I didn't like or something,
Oh, he would have told.
I would have told her.
Yeah.
Right.
I would. No, I don't like it. I
Oh
don't
my
think
God,
it looks
you
good on
cannot leave the house.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that it hurt your feelings, but it's better that you hear the truth from me and you
Right.
do something about it, because if my opinion matters,
Right.
if it's that you went out of your way to ask me, does my butt look good, big in this? Right? You came to me, you asked me, you want to know the truth. If you don't want to know the truth, don't come ask me.
Correct. And it's funny. I was actually going to bring that up earlier when we were discussing honesty.
Right?
It's the same thing. Don't ask. I always say that. Do not ask me for my opinion
If you don't
and then
wanna
get
hear.
upset
I
about what
give
my
it to you.
opinion is. Then don't
You're
ask
asking
me.
for it.
Well,
You
I
know?
think you don't have an understanding with your partner. Personally, because if I ask for honesty, it need to be the honesty that I want.
Then you're fooling yourself. You
See,
keep
and
shooting
then-
yourself in the
Then
foot.
don't ask.
I am
Then you
saying
have to
You're
know
then
doing
you're the
things
person that doesn't
that
ask.
prevent you from having a good relationship.
hey. That's a touchy topic there.
Listen, I'm just, calls them like I sees them, girl.
So let's go back to affairs, because affairs is a big thing infidelity affairs is a big thing when it comes to marriages or just relationships overall.
I think we
Incidentally,
need
I
to
think it's
give-
worth mentioning that Ashley Madison was hacked.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
my ass.
Yes.
Oh, I want to see the outcome of
I
So,
that.
know.
oh, secure, discreet, my ass.
Uh-huh.
I know.
I want to see the outcome of that there.
For those of you that don't remember, we discussed Ashley Madison on the
On
cyber
our online
dating,
dating
which
show.
is the site was,
What is it? Life is short. Have an
Have an
affair.
affair.
Mhm. So
I think we need to define
A lot of
what
people's
is-
lives are shorter now that they've been hacked.
Let's define what is an affair, because I know a lot of men who just think if I penetrate another woman, that's an affair.
right.
No.
No.
Well, it is. That
is.
Well,
is an
yes,
affair.
but that is not
That's
the
not
only
Right.
type
So
of
we
affair.
have-
I think we
Okay.
talked earlier in the show about intimacy, and if you're telling secrets with somebody, or you got a female best friend, and you're sharing things that you're not sharing with your spouse. Is that cheating?
What is that? I mean,
Well-
that I think leaves it up more to a personal, what you
Just
define as
yeah.
cheating. But I mean, here
because there's emotional. Go
right.
and-
So here they give 3 kinds of affairs. So the first one is accidental.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Okay, exactly.
Tell me about this one.
Wait,
Let's read.
I slipped and fell on it.
So let's read. It says, these are unplanned with the consequences given little thought. It's more of a friendship that develops into something more because of what's missing in the main relationship.
No, I
So
think
this
he's
is your
in
male coworker that you're
you're looking at every
working
day,
with
that you work
late, and
with
then
every
all of a
day.
sudden, you
No,
kind of fall on
no.
it.
Okay,
This is-
listen a minute. These are the names given to affairs. It does not mean that any of these are correct or incorrect.
Exactly.
It does not
I
mean
really
that you
think-
put up with them or don't put up with them. This is how he has
Well,
decided
Pittman and
to
Wagers.
define
the
affairs.
I think he let his id personality take over the situation, and he wants it and wants it now.
whatever the situation is. The reason he says it's accidental is because the person hasn't really had an opportunity to give thought to what the consequences might be. Like Kathy said, someone that you work with, someone that you see every day, someone
You're on
that
a
you
business
interact
trip.
with.
You have
You're on
a
a
few too many
business
at the
trip.
hotel bar.
It's someone that you interact with on a daily basis. Maybe you kind of have some type of friendship. He's kind of giving you something, attention or whatever
Right.
at work that maybe you're not getting at home. And
But
then
again, it's more of a friendship that develops into more because what's missing in
in
the main relationship.
right? And it's not something that's been going on so long in a romantic way where you've really been able to weigh out your options as to what the consequences
So this is
might
an
be.
accidental affair.
So that they define as accidental. The other one that they have is philandering. So these entail steady changes in partners by one spouse who is likely angry about the marriage, sees the other spouse as controlling, and is likely hostile toward the spouse. So it's someone who's had multiple partners during their marriage.
And it's just because they don't like their partners, so I'm
They
gonna
go outside and
and
do
find
something
something,
and come
right.
back.
So then
And
just leave. I mean,
Um,
if I dislike him so much that I gotta go and sleep with this one and that
but
one,
isn't
and then
that a
why am I
temporary?
still?
Isn't that like a temporary fix?
Why
now?
am I still with him? I mean, it's why go and do all that, and why don't I just fix what's really making me do all this? I mean, I don't get that.
Because only people that really want to invest time and recognize that there's a problem are willing to change. And maybe to me, that's not a problem. Maybe I was raised believing that marriage is something that you stay in. And maybe I was raised to believe that you put up with your partner. And maybe I was brought up under that whole thing of, you just don't do divorce.
Right.
So then instead of doing divorce, I'm just going to put up with this.
What will the
butthole
ladies
that
of
I'm
the
living
PTA
with.
think? What will my business partners
What is
think?
the
What will
family
my
gonna
family
say?
think? What will these, like any of those thoughts, opinions?
Like
No, they
I
don't.
remember when I was young and my mom used to always tell me in Spanish, ¿Qué van a decir los vecinos?
Yeah, what are the
Translate.
neighbors
What
gonna
are the
say?
neighbors going to say?
Who cares? They're going to talk crap regardless.
And that was my thing. And I remember,
Exactly.
and I remember being like young and thinking to myself, like, who really cares? Like, they don't have their own ish going on. Like, they don't have their own problems that they got to deal with.
Now, how
that
many
they gotta
dead
be worried
bodies are
about.
buried in their backyard? We can all start rumors around here. We got a little
We got
Aiden
sign language.
peeking in there, keeping an eye on us, keeping the path of the straight
But
and
you know
narrow.
what the thing about the neighbors is, you never know what they're doing behind their
That's-
closed
yeah,
doors.
and that's
Exactly.
okay. And if you got that much
Wasn't there
time,
a novel, Peyton Place, that covered exactly this?
well, and if you have that much time to actually be worried about what your neighbor's doing, then, what's going on in your life. I mean, then you need a little more excitement if
Right?
you've just got your whole entire nose into your neighbor's business. And then the last one that they identify is romantic affair. These people fall in love to escape marital and life problems. It may signal more of a crisis in the couple's life cycle than in the marriage itself.
Where
This
would
is
an
your
emotional affair?
That's what I'll say.
That's what I was thinking. Where would an emotional affair fall? Because
guess-
I think that's a
I think
big,
it's the romantic one. I think it's the romantic one.
probably, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then-
yeah.
That to
it
me
would.
would be
Who came up with these?
Pittman and Wagers.
The Pittman's and Wagers. I'm sure that they're very
Lovely
smart
people.
individuals. They're great.
They're in the same
But
sex
this is
relationship.
this is a crock.
Well, no, I don't think
I
it's
mean, some of the, I guess the names of it
I think it's the names.
whatever.
I think we're
you
having
know,
issues
we're
with
having
the
We'll call
names.
it
the
this,
names,
and then
but-
now
We're gonna call it
people
an
think we're smart.
accidental affair because that was an accident.
accidental. That's
Yeah.
the part
Okay, with
that I
nothing
think we're
accidental
struggling with
about
because
that.
there's nothing accidental.
With
but
affair is easily to get over.
An accidental affair would be, and this is, I mean, I'm
A
going
one-time thing.
way out on a limb here. You're out of town, having a few too many drinks, and you just kind of fall into it. It just happens. Listen, and you all had in your own relationships, and I'm talking to all my listeners out there, every single one of you, all had that time where you've either been with somebody that you're with or all this, and the next thing you know, you've just kind of fallen out of your clothes. If you haven't had it, you should be looking for that in your life.
no, I
I
can't.
get, remember when we came home after me being sick and all that and everything, and then I just gotten out of the hospital.
Right. Okay, fine, but we were married. That's not.
Well, we literally just
okay.
kind of fell into the moment.
but still, but that's being in the
Yeah,
moment.
but
That would be. I
that's-
would
but
say
that's
that
two
would.
people
If you're off
that's-
in war and you come home, I would say that that's the same thing that happened.
Well, and if you're married,
But-
you can pretty much-
Exactly.
Okay, so is it
We're
fair to say
discussing
there's no
affairs.
such damn thing as accidental affairs?
Yeah, no, I don't
think
No,
think
I don't
so.
think there is. I think
so.
what we're having an issue with, like we said, is the actual
the
fact that they
labels.
named it accidental.
There you go.
But when you break it down to,
I think what they
It's-
mean is that they're not planned.
not
that
a
you
planned-
don't go out tonight. I'm going to go out tonight to
Okay,
go.
can we say situational?
so we're just
Situational
we're just going to
affairs?
call them and we're going to
you know
rename
what?
all
Let's
of
just
these.
let's
Name
just
all.
call Pittman and Wagers here and just tell them, listen.
Listen, we
Yeah.
don't like your names. Your
We don't
names
like
are
your
stupid,
names.
and we're changing them. Thank you.
And the romantic
The
affair,
female-
we're going to
Your
change
feelings
that
are wrong
to
and
Facebook
stupid.
affairs.
The romantic
Right.
affair, I get it. It's that person that you actually connect with, that you
Right.
feel you're in love with or whatever. But
Yeah,
when
the
it all
other
comes
two-
down to
mhm.
is something's always missing in your relationship.
It is. It is.
And that's why when you're on your journey of love,
you
you can find it.
do.
You're listening to The Female Perspective. Stay tuned.
You're listening to The Female Perspective with your hosts, Barbie Bonder, Kathy Whitmire, and Arlene Thalon.
This is Wilma Shakespeare
Anger.
And Disaster Chief.
from Miami's Vice City Rollers, inviting you to tune in to Rink Rash Radio on 247miami.tv. New shows every Saturday at 9 p.m.
With encore replays Monday at noon and 10 p.m., Tuesdays at 10 a.m.
And Wednesdays at 10 a.m. and again at 10 p.m.
Find out everything you've ever wanted to know about roller derby and the 305,
Get the 411 on the women's team
The men's team,
and even the juniors.
Rink Rash Radio.
Rink Rash Radio
Rink Rash Radio.
on 247miami.tv.
Hello, everybody. George West here to tell you what you can expect on 247miami.tv. How about the 305 Nuts? My show, The George West Show, The Dirty Laundry, The Fantasy Frauds, Metal and Mayhem, plus the best DJs Miami has to offer. You can find it all right here on 247miami.tv, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Try to get a deal like that anywhere else. Afraid you just can't do it. Only here, 247miami.tv.
Octavio, yo, Doc Ock. What? Get your together. We gotta go. Go where? We're moving. Did you hear the memo? We're moving to Wednesdays. Wednesdays? Yes, we're moving to Wednesdays at 7. Get your together. Put John and Ricky in the box. We gotta go. Okay.
Get me out of here. That's right. The Royo Show is moving now to Wednesdays at 7 o'clock, only on 247miami.tv.
Calor y sabor. Aquí en 24/7 Miami.
And now back to The Female Perspective with your hosts, Barbie Bonder, Kathy Whitmire, and Arlene Thalon.
Hi, welcome back to The Female Perspective. Today we're discussing divorce. We just went over a little bit about some of the reasons for why it is people have affairs, and that obviously is a contributing factor to divorce. So we discussed what Pittman and Wagers calls accidental divorce, that we changed the name to, what was it? Situational.
Stupid mistake number one.
Not divorce, not accidental divorce, accidental affairs.
Accidental affairs. Yes.
An accidental divorce. That would,
that would really
oops,
be
I didn't mean to
interesting.
get divorced. Sorry.
So I think basically one of the things that we agree is there's a big part of what's called emotional affairs or emotional infidelity, which is 20% of couples have emotional affairs or infidelity where there is no sexual contact, so there is no adultery. but there is a disruption in the emotional intimacy of the couple. For example, like we said before, that's where your internet affairs would fall. You
Right.
know, when you're talking to other people, when you're kind of in an emotional place with everyone else, you're not necessarily meeting them physically or even a friend or someone that you know, but you're texting, you're kind of interacting.
No, and I would think that that also would fall under where I'm sharing things
with you that I'm not
with you that I'm not with my
Right.
partner, and
that's where the void
you know,
comes- that's where the
again,
void
like
comes
we
from.
said earlier in the show, it is important for, you know, each partner to have, each member of the marriage to have their own outlet and to have their own friends and not be, you know, this tiny little world that nobody, you know, and then something happens and you don't have an outlet, you don't have somebody to talk to.
Or all
But
all you have is the marriage,
Right.
and then all of a sudden you discover this other thing, and oh, wait a minute, you know, this is kind of cool. Well, then the other person will. I used to get 24/7 of your time. What are you doing, having hobbies and all this?
Right.
I'm supposed to be your
right,
hobby.
right.
Right.
So,
obsessive.
but
But
if
an
you, but an
emotional-
emotional affair, I think it would also fall into that. I'm gonna run if something good happened today. He's gonna be the first person I tell, not
my
him,
husband, right?
You know, and that I
Oh,
think
now
is
once also when you involve the internet in it, it's time spent away.
Right.
Because this is outside of work, outside of this, that you know your spouse spends an exorbitant amount of time on the phone with, texting,
Right.
all this internet
Coaching.
porn,
Right.
whatever the hell it is, where you should be involved in your relationship. You
relationship.
need to be there in the moment then, but you're not because you're in cyberspace.
So is it fair to say that affairs pretty much is because there's something happening in your relationship that
void.
isn't being met, so you
a
go
void.
outside of that
Yeah,
relationship
certainly.
to fill that void, right? Whatever it is, whether it's
Or you're trying to get away from something.
Right,
You're
whether
trying to
it's that-
escape the clinginess or the bitchiness or whatever it may happen to be.
right, and someone else is suddenly offering you something, whether it's emotional support,
Mhm.
whether it's telling you that you look nice, whether it's dedicating time that you're not getting from your partner, whether it's texting you or calling you or showing some real interest in you or how your day is, that in some way that has kind of
Yeah.
been a void in your
No, yeah,
relationship.
you're meeting
Do you
needs. I mean, the
remember,
needs are not
Right.
always physical. There's emotional needs, and we women, you know, we need to be told the, you know.
Do you remember
you're
the
so
invisible
pretty.
boyfriend?
yes.
Do you remember that? The invisible boyfriend.
Oh yes,
app?
yes, the invisible boyfriend app. Yes. But you know, it's that same thing. So a lot of times, then it's also fair to say that in a good marriage, one of the important things for a good marriage is to have your needs and your partner's needs met.
Mhm.
And as we stated before, if they're not being met,
You're gonna
and
go
there's
find it
something
somewhere else.
you're going to go find it somewhere else. But if it's not being met, then it's also your responsibility to make sure that your partner is aware of what it is that your needs
Right.
are.
That's that open and honest communication.
Exactly. Communication.
And understand that you're going to say things that the other person doesn't want to hear.
Right.
They're going to say things to you that you don't want to hear. But we need to be adults. Listen to what the other person and weigh that with okay, you know, whatever you know he wants to, you know, throw rotten fruit at me while he, you know, yanks on my toe with a piece of yarn. That's what gets him off.
And that goes back to the same thing of assumptions. You know, if my needs are not being met and I do not tell my partner
Right.
what it is that those needs are, I'm assuming he knows what they are. You know, then again, everything is left up for interpretation.
Right.
Well, you get a lot of that, and that's all comes back to open and honest
Right.
communication that you're just supposed to know.
Right.
You're just supposed to know how to do it the way that I want done or what I want or all this, that, and the other thing.
So that's why it is important to also have an understanding of what it is that I need, what it is that I want out of the marriage, and have a realistic expectation of what it is that it takes to actually make a marriage work.
Yeah,
As
you also have
opposed to
sides of it where folks aren't honest with themselves as to what they
right,
want.
which is why which is why it's important to also be honest with yourself. What is it that you want? What is it that's working for you? What's not working
You know what?
for
I
you?
think people don't look at marriage as like you have to put in time for your job. You have to put in time for your kids. You also people think marriage is supposed to just come together and work.
Right.
That, you know, we are in
it's-
the same house. We do this together, but they're not putting forth that effort. You know, so if you have to put time in to make it work, take time out. You know, go ahead, talk about this. Send the kids away. And focus on this. I have a friend, I have a couple on Facebook that they go to like a whole bunch of like marriage seminars and marriage
Like
retreats
retreats.
and things like that. They do marriage 5Ks and They just did a cowboy hat and jean dinner or something like that, where the couples have to get together dressed like cowboys and cowgirls just to have dinner with other married couples, and they sit down. It's about 12 of them, and they sit down, they go to restaurants, they skate, they do different things, and they discuss within themselves about what they do in their marriage. And it works.
If that works for you, then
Sure.
That's part of that.
Doesn't sound like it would be for me.
Yeah, it wouldn't be for me either. I don't need to be in a group of 12 people dressed as a cowgirl.
Yeah, let's
to
all get
figure out
together and
where it
bitch
is
about
I'm
our
at, but
problems.
all right.
Great.
But it's
I like the idea.
But
I
it's
would
the
do
same.
it.
But it's the same thing. It's being able to always have that open communication. That you're able to discuss things. There's a saying here that I think is interesting: is your emotional bank account. Always make a deposit in your partner's emotional bank account. Be able to emotionally appeal to your partner. Work on that. Put effort into that. Like we said, marriage isn't something that's just because we like each other, there's never going to be problems and everything's just going to fall into place. That's not how it happens. Life happens.
The other side of it is that if somebody's not saying something to you that you think you need to be hearing, you need to communicate. Hey, what's going on? We haven't had a chance to talk.
Exactly.
This, that, and the other thing. What's going on with you?
Exactly.
If you come to that realization, or you come to that question because, hey, I'm not getting something that I need, what's preventing them from giving that to me?
No,
it
I
may
need
not
to
be
make
that they
it known.
want, or it'd be like, well,
You may just may not know
I
that
got
I
a
need
corn on my
that,
toe,
you
and it's
know?
been driving me nuts.
Right.
Now, there's a big difference between that and actually being able to have that open communication, letting you know what my needs are, what my desires are, being able to kind of put everything on the table, and then time passes, and then things don't change, and then efforts don't get made.
It all comes back to that open and honest communication, that there are things that people don't want to realize about themselves.
Right.
And we don't see this as much anymore, but back when I was a younger guy, it would be somebody who's gay. Back when we're talking back in the 80s and in the 70s here, when it wasn't as readily acceptable as it is today. So you would have gay people who would be in marriages, they'd have beards, and because they couldn't be open and honest with themselves about who
they were
they
roommates
are.
for a long time.
Right.
But in all that honesty also comes the point that we discussed earlier, which is to have realistic expectations.
Well, you may be scared that if you go to your wife and let's say just to make this so ridiculous that it makes sense to everybody. Okay. You're into BDSM. All right. You want to be tied up and beaten. That's your thing. You might not be so quick to go and tell somebody about that because of the stigma that might come. Well, oh my God, what's wrong with you?
Right.
I like to be tied up and whipped. All right. I can't help it. I don't know why I like that, but that's what I like. And I want you to know this so that if you want to be with me and you want me to be happy, you're gonna have to
tell me
beat me every
right,
once in a while.
But now my point was a little deeper. My point was, if I'm married and I'm having some type of emotional need that isn't being met and something isn't happening, and I tell my partner and I'm open and honest about it, and we sit and discuss it, and time continues to pass and things do not change, and we continue to have the same conversation again and again, we're in the same place, and 4 years down the road we're in the same place, then at that point I have a choice whether I choose to continue to stay. Do I really need this emotionally? And if I do I really then want to stay in this
because you've made every
relationship?
effort
Because
to
if I'm
express your
making every
needs
effort
and-
to express myself, and if I've kind of put everything out there and we have been open and honest and discussed this, then now I need to evaluate what is important to me and what it is that I want and what it is that I need. And maybe with time we grew apart, or maybe whatever the situation
Or maybe
is.
he doesn't care about your
Or
needs,
maybe he
and you
doesn't
need to
care
make
about
that
my needs,
realization.
or-
And
But I'm
Maybe
hearing you
when
keep
we
saying
got-
what I want.
I'm not talking about me myself. I'm talking about in
she
general.
said the
whether
emotional
it's
bank
him or
account.
me.
Right.
Okay.
And that,
Either
you know,
partner, but I have to refer as I. Either partner, whoever that person is doing that. If your needs are not being met, and this is something that you've discussed, then it kind of comes to a point where we do need to figure out where we are. Maybe we did get married with unrealistic expectations. Maybe we did get married without really knowing what our partner wanted. Maybe we did make every effort to make it work, but we are just not meant to be together.
I don't know. When I see the emotional bank account, I look at like credits and debits. You know how you just keep making deposits.
Well, you take some out and you put some in.
You gotta put
Always
something
deposit
in.
and always,
Exactly.
always. In case of a credit do come out, it was a mix up. I missed your birthday. I missed the big dinner or something like that. I
Exactly.
have so many deposits that I put into
Yeah,
this account that
Exactly.
we
That's a
should be
perfect,
able to.
yeah.
We should be
That's
able to
a
overcome
perfect
that.
example, where we're able to kind of and do that for each other.
Yeah.
Where it's not just one person, where it's both
Because
of us.
if you keep my account in a negative and you keep getting these overdrafts,
and that's what I'm saying.
Your
then
bank
it ends
account's
up-
gonna close.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. It ends up getting to a
and
point
they don't
where
let you open up a new one within 7 years.
and that's what I'm saying. It gets to that point where you just kind of have enough. You're listening to The Female Perspective. Stay tuned. We're going to continue to talk a little bit about divorce and sex and intimacy.
Don't forget to find us on Facebook and follow us on The Female Perspective.
We'll be right back with more Female Perspective right after these messages. Hello, everybody. George West here to tell you what you can expect on 247miami.tv. How about the 305 Nuts? My show, The George West Show, The Dirty Laundry, The Fantasy Frauds, Metal and Mayhem, plus the best DJs Miami has to offer. You can find it all right here on 247miami.tv, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Try to get a deal like that anywhere else. Afraid you just can't do it. Only here, 247miami.tv.
I'm Alexia Chavarria. I'm Marisol Patton, and you're listening to 24/7 Miami. It is Dirty Laundry with Angie and Barbie.
This is Wilma Shakespeare, Anger,
And Disaster Chief.
from Miami's Vice City Rollers, inviting you to tune in to Rink Rash Radio on 247miami.tv. New shows every Saturday at 9 p.m.
with encore replays Monday at noon and 10 p.m., Tuesdays at 10 a.m.
And Wednesdays at 10 a.m. and again at 10 p.m.
Find out everything you've ever wanted to know about roller derby and the 305,
Get the 411 on the women's team
The men's team,
and even the juniors.
Rink Rash Radio.
Rink Rash Radio
Rink Rash Radio.
on 247miami.tv.
Too much of anything is not good for you, baby. But I don't know about that. There's many times that we've loved, and we've shared love and made love. It doesn't seem to me like it's enough. It's just not enough. It's just not enough. Oh, baby.
And now back to The Female Perspective with your hosts, Barbie Bonder, Kathy Whitmire, and Arlene Fallon.
Hi, welcome back to The Female Perspective.
Can't hear it.
So today we're discussing divorce. We've discussed communication, we've discussed conflict, we've discussed affairs, and now let's get a little bit into sex and intimacy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
right.
This is what I lean like.
So this is something that is a little difficult for
You may want to ask the kids to, get out of the computer room.
Right.
This is something that's a little difficult, believe it or not, for couples to actually discuss.
Because you got to be open and honest about all the freaky crap you're into.
And what it is you don't like.
And what it is you do like.
And what it is you do like. And if something's happening that you don't like, you need to let that be known, because otherwise that thing that you don't like is going to keep happening because that partner is going to think that you
like
You're into
it.
it. You're into it.
So it's important to be able to have an open communication about sex and intimacy and what your desires are, and even what it is that your what's the word? Why am I drawing a blank?
I don't know, but you need to spice it up every now
What
and
titillates you and what disgusts you?
Is that what you were going for?
No, fantasies.
Fetishes. Oh, okay.
Even like if you have, even
I went to fetish.
took it to another
Fetish, fantasy.
Thin line
all
between
those
those.
things, all those things. So even
Porn.
though it's something that's difficult to discuss, it's something that overall is not going to fix itself.
Right.
So this is one of those things that if we just continue to ignore it and continue to have issues in it, and we don't actually sit and talk about it, this is the kind of thing that is just not going to miraculously fix itself. It's not like one day you're going to, wake up and you're going to have this like mind-blowing sex and intimacy with your partner if you've never really discussed what it is that you
Sit
want.
down over dinner. How's your chicken? How do you feel about rubber? And I don't mean the chicken. Wow.
So there's certain things that you can ask your partner to be able to increase this sexual intimacy with your partner, which is obviously knowing what it is that makes you feel sexually closed. What frequency is it that you like? What kind of sex do you like? What is it that turns you on, as we said? What is it that you don't like?
But those questions sound so touch. So tell me about the sex you like. I mean,
I'm not saying I'm, you know what? I mean,
Or should you just volunteer that information like in the dating phase?
right. That's the, oh, by the way.
I
So
like,
I like
I like to
this.
get sold on the wall.
all right, but let's be
you
honest.
know.
When you're dating someone, they are not even honest about
Yeah, you
other
No,
BS stuff.
yeah, we
So
said this on the dating show. When you date somebody, you're not dating them.
Yeah, thing the
You're
facade
dating,
of them,
you're
right?
dating their representative.
So if he can't
Exactly.
even be honest in the date, you know, if we can't even be honest with each other, or people can't be honest in the dating phase about something as simple as like
porn, because
your
that's my
porn.
big thing right there. I'm
no,
like,
not even sex related, as your, you know, last relationship or your history or your job or
Right.
your family relationship. What really makes you think that this person is going to be honest with you about something as
as
private,
intimate
as intimate as sex?
cross-dressing.
Exactly.
Right.
oh, by the way,
By
I
the
like
way,
to wear your underwear.
Yeah, I'll be wearing your panties later.
My favorite color. So
Don't judge.
there's a lot of stuff
No
that
judgment.
is, you know, important to figure out, you know, when it comes to videos, books, internet, porn, as we said. You know, what is it that you like? What is it that turns you on? Are we equal partners?
Are you open and honest with yourself about what you want?
Yeah.
Or does what you want scare the ever-loving crap out of you? And then deal with that first.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, how many people do you know that are in a relationship with someone, and, you know, even friends, doesn't have to be like work related, but even friends that you know, where maybe there's something going on with them sexually that the other person doesn't like, and I don't really want to tell him because I don't want to hurt his feelings.
Tell him.
Then deal with it. Yeah.
Tell 'em.
Learn
Then
to
that
find a way to
comes-
like it.
Yep.
Or
Then that
Tell 'em what
exactly.
deal with it.
So then that comes back to everything that we've been saying from the beginning, is that honesty factor. You know, it is
yeah,
a
but
big.
being honest is hard.
Yeah.
It's super hard, but so is everything else that comes with not being honest.
But look what comes after the fact.
Oh, I
It's gonna
get it.
be
You're preaching to
harder.
the choir
It's
here.
going to be harder.
You know, so I'm either honest and we can actually work on having a functional, thriving marriage and relationship where everything is
Mhm.
kind of out on the table and we know what we're dealing with and we can kind of work through whatever it is that happens.
And there's no surprises.
there's
there's
no
no
surprises.
Well,
surprises.
can I ask you a question? Is there ever a way where porn can be good
Sure.
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 in a
Absolutely.
relationship?
Absolutely.
If it's mutually agreed upon.
If it's mutually agreed upon, if both of you openly discuss what it is that you like, if you are both into it, if it's now, if I am not going to see my husband because he's 8 hours behind a door with porn, then that's a little bit.
Thanks for the
sound effects. That's-
there. This is our producer,
You're
ladies and
welcome.
gentlemen. Love it. Yeah.
But that's the same thing that went back with whatever it is that we're discussing before. If it's time that you could be putting into your relationship and you're finding something else to fill that void,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that might be, whether it's internet,
Do
another
any-
person.
Do any spouse have a right to say no to sex?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you're not obligated to give in.
No,
whenever.
what you can't do is no all the time.
Right.
No, we don't have sex. You know, God doesn't like that. We're not having sex unless we're trying to have children. There's no point to do it.
Sex is
Yeah.
sex is
That-
an important part of any relationship. Sex gives you an opportunity to bring
And that's not
somebody
just
else.
having it. That could also be the denial of having it. To a lot of people, you know, there's groups out there that the not having sex. We're married and we don't have sex other than to have children. That's
Right.
it.
Right.
That is the only
But
reason.
here, you know, where we are and in the culture that we're discussing, it is a big part of a marriage. It is what allows you to connect with your partner on a very personal and deep level.
It's one of those daily things that makes being married
know,
worthwhile.
And it does. It gives you an opportunity to just be in a whole different vibe and place with this person. It's not something that you do with everyone. It's not something, you know, it's kind of something private and something personal that adds to that closeness that you have with your partner.
Okay, well, this new thing that's out now about abstaining from sex, like Sierra
There's
and
nothing new about that.
but I just see a lot of people doing it now.
They've had promise rings
And-
since I was a kid.
But this
Yeah.
is after you done had kids and after
Oh,
you done
yeah.
live life and after you want to redefine yourself. What's the likelihood of that, like really getting to know somebody, you know, without sex being a part of the mix?
Again, if it works for you and that's what you want to do in your life, by all means,
There's
then go ahead
folks
and do that.
they need to have everything else taken care of because Sex is
once
not
it's-
important.
I don't think
sex is
there-
not important, or does it changes the dynamics of things now? Because now you're not looking at it with a clear eye.
Well, let's put it.
I would hate for you to
I
be
would give you an
stigmatized.
I'll give you an example from my own personal life.
Oh Jesus!
All right.
Here
When
we
I
go.
when I was in the Navy, there was this. He was my LPO. His name was
No names, no names.
let's name his name was
Joe Snow.
Leroy.
Leroy.
All right. So Leroy was from the islands and very religious, very, very religious. And the kind of, little something about me here. I really admire people of color because of the way they worship, the shameless love of God that they have, that Caucasians, we don't have that. We used to, not anymore. So I really admire that about him. And so in getting to know him, he had gone his whole life virgin until he got married. Same thing with his wife, both from the islands. This is the culture that they came up in, and that they had become friends and they fell in love with each other and all this, that, and the other thing. And they had that. And then they put sex on top of that. Ooh, Lordy. Only helped to make the relationship stronger. And if you look at primitive cultures, this is why virginity was so highly prized. Because you get that first time.
extra
Because
height.
in case you're not aware, sex can be really, really awesome. Really, really awesome. So if you've got a good relationship where there's trust and everything else that comes with it, and then you pour the sex gravy on top of that,
Sex gravy.
But that
it makes for a relationship that's going to last longer, is much more stronger, because now you've got real intimacy.
But that goes back to what we said earlier, as far as like giving time frames or giving what's right or giving what's wrong. I mean, whatever works for you. If you choose to be abstinent from sex until the day that you get married,
Anybody
great.
having this conversation, I'm sure everybody here has had sex outside of marriage, right? As you are now, as an adult, as a thinking adult, right? Hold on to it.
And my son
My
running around out
Mary,
there.
my Mary is listening.
I'll get over it. All right.
My dad thought I was a virgin until I got pregnant with my daughter.
Would you get into a relationship with somebody now and take it to the next level where it's going to get serious and we're thinking about marriage, we're thinking about moving in together, where you didn't have sex with them?
No.
It's nowadays, being a good lover, or at least a good enough lover for whoever you're with, is imperative to a good relationship. Whereas back in the day, that was the last thing that was on the list. Now it's like top 3.
and that's the same. It's a personal choice. It's between you and your partner.
What makes you comfortable? Are you open and honest with yourself and what you want and what you require and who and what you are? And are you willing to accept the flaws of another person and then make a life together? Because marriage, this is the big myth that it's, we get together and I love everything about her and I love it. He loves everything about me. And no.
And then the honeymoon ends.
And then the honeymoon's
There you
over.
go, there you
And then
go.
it's learning to put up with the crap that you don't like about that
Uh-huh.
person and still love them in spite of
exactly
the crap.
the fact that they're human,
Yeah, exactly.
just like you, and that they love you
And have
in
flaws
return, in spite of the fact that you are far, far, far from perfect.
And that comes back to one of the first things that we said when we opened up this topic was, do you like
do
your
you
partner?
like your partner? You have to like them.
At
Love
least
will.
the minimum part of a relationship, you must
You have
like
to like them. You have to be able to
Like
laugh
them,
with
flaws
them
and everything.
and
So really briefly, before we close, I just wanted to touch up on the fact of grieving after a divorce.
Oh.
So even though you might both want out of the marriage, even though both of you have come to terms with the fact that
it's difficult to
the
deal
marriage
with.
is
and no matter
over.
how long, no matter how long you've been married, I think the point of
Love
divorce,
lost, a sense of failure,
There's
all
always
sorts of negative
going
crap.
to be a grieving process.
always.
Even though you both agreed, doesn't matter what happened, but
still
it
the
is
end
the
of-
end of an era. It's
Yeah.
the end of a relationship. It's the end of
It's a closing one chapter,
Right.
and you're not thinking about opening the new one because all
Right.
that hasn't happened yet.
right.
And when you got married, you had all these illusions of what your life with this person was going to be.
Right.
And when you get divorced, you're coming to terms with the fact that all of these illusions of what your life was going to be,
And
where you saw yourself,
expectations and-
expectations, dreams, if you have children, what you expected your life with your children would be like during your marriage, all of those things aren't going to happen.
Thank you for
did I
the.
throw you with the music?
Yes,
Yeah,
you did.
yeah, that was-
For a moment there, I felt like it was like an episode of like.
No,
as
it's almost
the
like you're
world
reading
turns.
an obituary now. The way you're
Right.
talking and the music.
But we are.
like-
It is like a loss.
But it is a loss, and it's important, I think, to put this in there because divorce isn't just a thing where we come to terms with us getting divorced and that's it. It's over. You know.
No, you gotta remember the friends that you had together,
Right.
the mutual
Oh, yeah.
friends.
Yeah,
Who
okay.
gets the
Realize
friends in the
the friends.
divorce?
I mean, it's a lot. You don't think you're just ending it with that person. Now you got to realize, okay, you're my
Oh,
friend.
we
and his
don't
friend.
have time to
Right.
get into all that crap.
Yeah,
No,
no.
But
It's
there
this
are-
is the spouses.
Right,
Okay,
but
That's all
there
we're
is-
dealing
Listen, for the record, you're gonna stay my friend, Kathy.
with. Okay.
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 Like she's gonna leave me.
Yeah,
Please.
exactly.
Or vice versa. Like he's gonna leave me, please.
But it is important to allow yourself to go through that grieving process. It is important for you to not put a certain time on how long it's going to take you. Like
Life
people,
goes on.
like
It
people
is,
will
it's
ask
just-
you, you know, people will ask you, well, how long am I going to feel like this? Or how long is this
Right.
going to happen? It's going to,
Until you
as long
don't.
as it does.
As it takes. It's the same as the death of a loved one. You go through the same
Exactly.
stages of grief
Mhm.
that when somebody dies, and we think of them as denial, anger.
Yeah, but unlike somebody
depression,
dying, you
bargaining.
can replace them. You can get another spouse.
You can. You can.
but
Maybe
the
you
memories
can.
and the life is still going to
Right.
be something that is the end to something that you're going to grieve.
Mhm.
So give yourself the time to be able to go through that process that you're going through, however long it may take. So one of the
Exactly.
things that we've learned today is there is no time frame
For anything.
for anything. Everything
When
is
it comes to
individual,
relationships,
and
right?
it comes to you. What works for you? What it is that you need. So this is the female perspective. Today we talked a little bit about divorce and marriage. We invite you to go on our Facebook page and like us at the female perspective. Let us know what it is that you think. Anything in the future that you want us to cover.
Don't forget our phone number is 786-565-4757. We're available to talk, to make appointments, to see you if you're going through any of this. You can also catch us on www.247miami TV and find us on our YouTube page.
Thank you so much for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.